Long Fei was very good at this kind of thing. Long Fei was very good at this kind of thing. Control the aggro well and maintain a safe distance. As long as the boss was not instantly killed, it wouldn't be a problem. In the game, Long Fei was a professional in blabbering. However, a game is a game. This is reality. He wasn't going to face a level 1 or 2 higher boss, but a few level 10 Emperor bosses. The most important thing was that he wasn't sure if the boss he lured out was a boss or a group of bosses. It could be said, there was a slim chance of death in trying to lure the owner off God's Devil City out. However, Long Fei agreed. First, owner off God's Devil City is a boss. Second, owner off God's Devil City is a boss. Third, owner off God's Devil City is also a boss. All the reasons were just one. That was boss. That was enough. If Long Fei were to fight alone, it would be dangerous and difficult. However, with Qin Shuang and these free thugs, he might be able to relax a lot. Plus, from the experience of several hundred powerhouses, right now, he was at the critical point in his attempt to break through the God's Elephant State. Whether he could break through the God's Elephant State before the factory sex selection would depend on tonight. Satisfying, Qin Shuang was excited and laughed nonstop in his heart. If you don't die this time, I'll change my surname to yours. Chu Qing was a little worried. Zheng Yuan Heng said slightly, I will accurately lock onto the position of the owner off God's Devil City for you. Long Fei said, thank you. In the middle of the night, a group of 6 quietly snuck into the God's Devil City. Indeed, owner off God's Devil City indeed did not expect that Qin Shuang and the others would come again. He thought that Qin Shuang and the others were too scared to come back. Thus, the security in God's Devil City was not strict and could be said to be lax. Ahead is the City Lord's mansion, which is also where the God's Devil City lives. Zheng Yuanhang said softly. Qin Shuang patted Long Fei's shoulders and said, Brother, it's up to you now. We will activate the divine treasure here. You must lure him here. Chu Qing said, You must be careful. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, Don't worry, I'll still have to come back to roast meat for you. While they were talking, Long Fei snuck into the City Lord's mansion. The Xinchalong sword once again activated its navigation mode. Master, my cultivation is at the Emperor realm of the owner off God's Devil City. I can kill him. Long Fei said indifferently. No rush. They treat me like a fool, and I also want to play with them like monkeys. Isn't that just playing with them? Then let's see who can win against who. Long Fei sneered. Even if the Xinchalong sword could kill the owner off God's Devil City in one move, Long Fei would not let him do it. You want to send him to his death? Damn it. After passing through a few gardens, Long Fei arrived at a large hall. The main hall was brightly lit. Cheerful moans and yells were constantly heard from inside the cave. Come on, have a good time. City Lord, come catch me. City Lord, I am here. Catch me. Tonight I'll be yours, he. All kinds of laughter. Long Fei shook his head and muttered, I didn't expect the mayor to be such an emotional person. Cough, cough. Clearing his throat, Long Fei said in a daze, Grandson, grandfather is here. Quickly come out to die. No response. Long Fei's voice could not be heard at all, because there were at least 20 women in the room. There were other sounds that could be heard in the wine pond and the meat forest. Damn, Long Fei muttered, and once again shouted loudly, Grandson, grandfather is here. Quickly come out and accept your death. Still no reaction. I'll throw it. Is this move not effective? No reason. Long Fei scratched his head. The idea moved. He flipped his right hand. Buzz. The Xinchalong sword flew out. Long Fei said lightly, Go, bring him out. Shwa. A piercing sound was heard. The Xinchalong sword shot straight into the hall, followed by a series of screams. The entire hall was instantly thrown into chaos. Hearing the scream, the City Lord's mansion immediately lit up with light. Elite guards rushed out from every path and rushed into the main hall. Assassins. Assassins. It's in the City Lord's room. Quick, quick, quick. In an instant, in less than half a minute, the space in front of Long Fei was filled with people. Kid, who are you? Who sent you? Where's your partner? You're not talking? If you don't say anything, then kill him. Long Fei stood at his original position and scratched his ears, as if he didn't hear anything. At this moment, the door of the hall was pushed open, and bare-chested city lord slowly walked out, cautiously and with a heavy voice. All of you, stop fucking for me. On his neck was a sword. A bloody wound had already appeared on his neck. Owner of God's Devil City was so scared that the 2 lumps of fat on his chest were trembling. Big brother, whatever you want, just say it. As long as my God's Devil City has it, you can take it. Owner of God's Devil City's Adam's apple rolled as he spoke with a pale face. A mere sword. He wouldn't be afraid of the godly sword, no matter how powerful it was. However, he had never seen a sword like the Xinchalong sword before. It could only be described with one word. Abnormal. Long Fei smiled lightly and said, if God's Devil City has any precious treasures, any metals, take them out for me. Owner of God's Devil City immediately replied, okay. Men, bring me all of my treasures. Quick, don't waste my lord's time. 10 minutes later, a pile of over 100 things slowly piled up in front of Long Fei. However, without even a single holy artifact, Long Fei swept his sleeve and kept all of them inside the space ring. The idea moved recycling. Ding! System notification. Experience points plus 8037421 points. Long Fei smiled slightly. This experience points is great. Owner of God's Devil City said, Big brother, I have given you everything. Can you let me go now? Long Fei said, still not enough. There is one more thing that I need you to do. Owner of God's Devil City said, tell me, as long as you can spare my life, I will do anything for you. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, follow me. Senior fellow Qin, it's been 20 minutes, and the city lord's mansion is quieted down from the start. Do you think that kid will succeed? Success? Qin Shuang laughed coldly and said, with his level of cultivation, how could such a trash of a country bumpkin be able to lure out owner of God's Devil City of the Emperor Realm? The man asked, then why did you let him lure the owner of God's Devil City? Qin Shuang laughed coldly and said, using a knife to kill someone. Gao. Senior fellow Qin is truly worthy of being called a senior fellow Qin. He's really high. Qin Shuang also sneered. Fight with me? Look at what you said. Just that trash of a country bumpkin. Not waiting for him to finish. Zheng Yuanheng suddenly ran over and said, Senior fellow Qin, owner of God's Devil City is out. Immediately, Qin Shuang was dumbfounded. Chapter 2960, Letting the Tiger Out of the Cage. Chapter 2960, Letting the Tiger Out of the Cage. Qin Shuang only wanted Long Fei to die. With regards to this assessment mission, he did not have much hope. After all, the sex information was wrong. With the plan to send Long Fei to his death, he never thought that the owner of God's Devil City would actually be lured out. The worst part was, it was heading in their direction. The male disciple said with a heavy voice, how is that possible? He, a trash of a country bumpkin, can actually lure the owner of God's Devil City out? This is way too incredible. Seeing that Qin Shuang's face was extremely ugly, he immediately shut his mouth and asked, Senior fellow Qin, what do we do now? Qin Shuang said solemnly. What do we do? Kill that country bumpkin for me. The man didn't know how to react. Qin Shuang shouted, can you not have some brain? With just that trash of a country bumpkin, you can lure the owner of God's Devil City out? It must be colluded. This was the only possibility. Otherwise, it would not make sense. The man reacted and immediately said, that's right. Why didn't I think of it? From this kid's familiarity with the terrain, I knew that this kid must be someone from the God's Devil City. Zheng Yuanheng slightly said, that can't be. I don't think he wants to be the unpardonable one. Qin Shuang berated him and said, to know a person's face but not their heart, what kind of world have you, Zheng Yuanheng, seen? Zheng Yuanheng lowered the center of his brows. Then what do we do now? Qin Shuang thought for a few seconds, then said, I'm afraid we are already surrounded, and all of this is because of that brat. So no matter what, we have to kill that brat. Don't worry. Wait for him to get close. We'll take advantage of his surprise and kill him. Zheng Yuanhang said. Then what happened after that? Qin Shuang said, Junior brother Zheng, delay owner off God's Devil City and allow Chu Qing to leave first. Me? Zheng Yuanhang asked. Why me? Qin Shuang glared and said, Because I am your senior brother on this mission. My orders are your own. If I say you want to delay the owner off God's Devil City, then you are. Any more questions? The man and woman beside him sneered. It was just as Qin Shuang had said. He was a senior brother, so he replied solemnly, I understand. At this time, Chu Qing also ran over and asked, Senior fellow Qin, where is the divine treasure that Master gave you? Now, the 5 of us will activate it together, and owner off God's Devil City will be here shortly. A divine treasure, Qin Shuang sneered. What divine treasure is that? No divine treasures? Chu Qing exclaimed. Didn't you say there was a divine treasure at the beginning? Do you need the 5 of us to start it? Why is it gone again? At this time, Qin Shuang did not lie to Chu Qing anymore, and said, There is simply no divine treasure. I was the one who lied to you about all these. I just wanted you to see clearly that trash of a country bumpkin. Just him alone can lure out the owner off God's Devil City. They're in a gang. Qing Er, do you recognize his face now? Qin Shuang revealed a proud smile and thought in his heart, You want to steal my woman? Fight with me? I have 100 ways to play you to death. Chu Qing was shocked. You did all this just to send him to his death? Qin Shuang said, Wrong. I only wanted him to reveal his true face. He is someone from the God's Devil City, an unforgivable person. Chu Qing looked at Long Fei, who was walking out of the City Lord's mansion, and shook his head. I don't believe that he's a bad guy. He saved us. How could he be a bad guy? She never thought of a person as a bad person. Moreover, how could someone who could roast meat so delicious be a bad guy? Qin Shuang said sincerely, Junior sister Qing, you have been deceived by him. In this world, I'm the only one who wouldn't lie to you. I truly treat you well. Chu Qing shook his head. No, I need to ask him in person. She did not believe that Long Fei was a bad guy. Just as she was about to walk out, Qin Shuang grabbed her hand. The hidden strength in his palm immediately locked onto Chu Qing and said, There's no need to ask. I'm sure that he's an evil person. Chu Qing struggled up and said, Qin Shuang, let go of me. Qin Shuang said, This is for your own good. He is an unforgivable person. I will definitely kill him today. Chu Qing's cultivation was not as strong as Qin Shuang's. She was completely suppressed and could not break free. It was also at this time. Long Fei said softly, The owner off God's Devil City you all want is here. Chu Qing shouted, Run, run, quickly. Senior brother Qin Shuang wants to kill you. Qin Shuang's eyes darkened. In a fit of rage, he threw a slap, Slut. Pot. Chu Qing's face turned red, and a trickle of blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. Seeing her like this, Qin Shuang's heart once again ached, and he said, Qing Er, I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose, Chu Qing did not look at him, and still shouted loudly, Let's go, quickly. Qin Shuang angrily clenched his teeth. It was already impossible for him to attack Long Fei at this time, so he had to immediately. He shouted, Junior brother Zheng, cover up. They grabbed Chu Qing and ran out. Zheng Yuanhang's gaze tensed up, and he could only stand in place. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. Although he did not know what had happened, he could hear from Chu Qing's voice that she had just been beaten up. F***CK. Long Fei was immediately annoyed. The idea moved. The Xinchalong sword was immediately taken back. Long Fei looked at owner off God's Devil City and asked solemnly, Do you know what to do now? Owner off God's Devil City's neck shook, and he said, Little bastard from Fatry sect. Someone come. Close the city gates. Set up a heaven-evil formation. His voice was like a bell, directly exploding in the sky above the God's Devil City. Next, the God's Devil City was brightly lit. all the money elites on the streets came out to kill them. Buzz! Buzz! After a few buzzing sounds, a huge black net covered the sky above God's Devil City. The heavenly evil formation. Heaven could not do it, nor could he enter the earth. Oneroff God's Devil City stared at Long Fei with the corner of his eyes, revealing a trace of killing intent. The Xinchalong's sword said, "Master, he has killing intent towards you." The corners of Long Fei's lips curled up as he smiled in his heart. "It's fine, my killing intent towards him has never disappeared." Boom! Boom! The Oneroff God's Devil City's figure blurred as he stood bare-chested. He directly charged into the darkness with his claws like a dragon, and landed in front of Qin Shuang after a few breaths of time. With a sinister look in his eyes, he said darkly, "You bastard from Fatry's sect, you think you can escape after coming?" While they were talking, when Oneroff God's Devil City saw Chu Qing, his eyes flashed with lust. "What a beautiful girl! I have never tasted a woman from Fatry's sect before." Qin Shuang's gaze darkened as he said, "Oneroff God's Devil City, we are the disciples of the Fatry sect's flowing cloud, immortal sovereign. If you dare to touch us," not waiting for him to finish. Bam! Oneroff God's Devil City made a claw in the air, and it directly smashed onto Qin Shuang's chest. Qin Shuang was sent flying. The Oneroff God's Devil City snorted, "What a noisy time," scrammed to the side. Then, Oneroff God's Devil City's figure moved and landed beside Chu Qing. His lecherous eyes flickered, his Adam's apple rolled, and he said, "Girl, today, this city's main disciple will spoil you well." "Do you think you're my ancestor? Do you think you're my ancestor?" Oneroff God's Devil City was excited. He had never seen a woman as beautiful as Chu Qing, just like a fairy. His lust dominated everything. Moreover, did not see it in the darkness just now, but he saw it clearly. The reason why Chu Qing gave him a slap was because Chu Qing told him to run. The Oneroff God's Devil City was extremely perverted, but he was also extremely meticulous. Long Fei's cultivation was not high, but the sword beside him was extremely terrifying. If he wanted to control Long Fei, this woman was probably the key. Senior fellow Qin. Senior fellow Qin. A man and a woman. Two disciples ran forward to support Qin Shuang. Qin Shuang's chest had a piece of flesh torn out. It was extremely painful. But seeing the beside him with his bare upper body that looked like a fat pig, he was enraged in his heart and shouted loudly, "Old thief Tian Xie, you dare touch even a single strand of her hair, I will destroy your soul." Qin Shuang struck with his sword. Meteor shower. The display of the imperial power was extremely thorough. However, a level was a level. The difference was the difference. Without waiting for him to get close, the Oneroff God's Devil City sneered, "You dare act so arrogantly in front of me with that little cultivation of yours?" Humph! Shock! Boom! A stream of power erupted from the Oneroff God's Devil City's body. His divine might was like a huge bell pressing down heavily on Qin Shuang. A loud explosion resounded. Qin Shuang's entire person was crushed to the point of him kneeling on the ground as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Senior fellow Qin. The woman moved and also attacked. However, the distance was still 10 meters away, and she was still pressed down by the pressure of the Emperor realm. However, she was not injured and just could not move. The corners of Oneroff God's Devil City's mouth curled up, and he laughed sinisterly. "Although she is several levels lower than you, but she can still be considered a high-level goods, and is also a disciple of the Fatry sect. She will definitely let me have my fill." He began to laugh maniacally, exceptionally excited. The other male disciple turned pale with fright and ran. However, before he could run far, a kick came from the darkness. Bam! He sent them flying with a kick. An old man with an evil smile walked out. He stared at the man on the ground and laughed sinisterly. "I have never tasted the chrysanthemum of a Fatry sect disciple. Don't worry. Tonight, I will also properly cherish you, Jia Jia." The man was trembling with fear. Not long later, A dozen or so powerhouse S rushed over. They were all royal realm. The aura on his body was vigorous. City Lord, we came late and gave you a fright. City Lord, there are 2 more people over there. They have been surrounded by my men. This bunch of factory sex little bastards actually dared to come to our God's Devil City. They're simply looking to die. Ha ha ha. All of the God's Devil City, S of the God's Devil City, had come over. This time, and the others would not kill the owner off God's Devil City. They would not even have a chance to escape. Chu Qing's body trembled slightly, but she was still relatively calm, and said, "Kill us. As long as any of our elders from Factory Sect comes, your God's Devil City will be turned into ashes. Killing us won't benefit you in the slightest." Owner off God's Devil City looked at Chu Qing and laughed. "Little darling, don't worry. I definitely won't kill you." With that, he grabbed Chu Qing's chin. Chu Qing felt disgusted and asked, "What are you trying to do?" Qin Shuang also roared angrily, "Take your dirty hands away from me." He liked Chu Qing from the first moment he saw her. He would definitely not allow any man to touch her. However, owner off God's Devil City completely ignored him. A person kneeling on the ground was not qualified to speak. However, at this moment, buzz, 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 a burst of ear-piercing sword hums suddenly exploded. Owner off God's Devil City's gaze tightened and his mind suddenly trembled. He subconsciously released his hand and looked not far away. At the same time, he turned his gaze to the side. The 2 old men nodded slightly and silently hid themselves in the darkness. Long Fei and Zheng Yuanhang walked over. Qin Shuang saw Long Fei and immediately said, "You dog, you are indeed on the same side as God's Devil City. You despicable, shameless bastard. This father will not let you go." Long Fei laughed coldly and said, "You aren't letting me go? I'm so scared. May I ask why you, a person kneeling on the ground, won't let me go? Do you want to be a ghost and not let me go, or what?" Zheng Yuanhang said, "Senior fellow Qin, you are all mistaken about him." Qin Shuang coldly snorted. "Wrong monster? If it weren't for him, would we have ended up like this?" Zheng Yuanhang said, "Brother Long, he is really not in cahoots with God's Devil City. Just now, he killed quite a number of God's Devil City's guards. If not for him, I'm afraid that all of you would have already died." Qin Shuang's eyes turned sinister as he looked at Long Fei and laughed coldly. "So you're saying that I have to thank him? Even if I die, I don't need a despicable scumbag like him to save me." Furthermore, he did not believe that Long Fei could save him at all. Long Fei's cultivation was but a small fry in the God's Devil City. How could she save him? Unless he was a grandfather of the owner off God's Devil City. Long Fei laughed. "Sure, you're the one who said that. Owner off God's Devil City. Then go ahead and kill him." Owner off God's Devil City laughed and said, "Understood." Immediately, owner off God's Devil City's eyes moved. A black armored guard holding a steel blade walked towards Qin Shuang. Qin Shuang's eyes darkened and said, "Come, if I die, you will all die with me. And you, my factory sect, will definitely not let you go." He was trembling. Chu Qing said, "Can you save him? Save senior fellow Qin." Zheng Yuanhang also said, "Save senior fellow Qin." Long Fei laughed. "He just said that even if I die, I don't need to save him. Besides, if he didn't want me to die, why would he kneel on the ground now?" "You don't think so? Your father's life is very tough. How can I save someone who wants me dead? Unless, please beg me." Qin Shuang gritted his teeth as he stared at Long Fei. Chu Qing said, "Senior fellow Qin, just give in." Qin Shuang's eyes were filled with hatred. His gaze could kill. And what Long Fei wanted was this kind of effect. Wanting him to die? You want to play with him? Who was playing who now? This was worse than killing him. Long Fei smiled faintly. "Are you asking for it or not?" At this moment, the black armored guard had already walked to Qin Shuang's side. His steel blade moved slightly as it flashed with a cold light. Qin Shuang was extremely frightened. In front of his life and face, he still lived as he was before and said solemnly, I beg you, please save me." Long Fei said, "Is this the tone of someone asking for help?" Is there anyone who would beg like that? He continued to play. Buzz. He raised the steel knife. At this moment, Qin Shuang's heart was trembling, and his body was trembling. He no longer had any extra strength to retaliate, and he was still being crushed by the god's might of the Emperor realm. As long as this blade descended, his head would definitely fall to the ground. Thinking of this, he immediately peed his pants in fright. She said anxiously, I beg of you, please save me. I was wrong. Please save me. Long Fei sneered, turned and looked at Oneroff God's Devil City, and said, Enough, don't kill him. Oneroff God's Devil City smiled and said, Brat, if you want me to kill you, then kill me. Do you really take yourself to be my ancestor? Kill. Chapter 2962, Unfair Competition. Chapter 2962, Unfair Competition. Oneroff God's Devil City's eyes turned sinister, and his expression became sinister. Give the order. The black-armored guard's steel blade fell down heavily. Qin Shuang's eyes were wide open as he let out a miserable scream. Before the saber landed, it first howled like a pig being butchered, as if it would never be able to scream out in the future. Long Fei's brows sunk, and he said, Not obedient. Dragon sword. Buzz. The idea moved, and it flew out in an instant. Shwa. A sword pierced through the air. Crack. The steel blade was pierced through by the dragon sword and directly shattered into powder. Then, the black-armored guard's heart meridian would be shattered, and his 7 orifices would burst into blood, and he would die. Qin Shuang, who was under the blade, curled up into a ball. He had never been in such a sorry state before in his life. Oneroff God's Devil City's gaze tensed up, and with a flip of his hand, he grabbed on a Chu Qing, directly grabbing him to block in front of him. At the same time, he heavily shouted, Attack! Boom! Boom! In the darkness, the concealed 2 level 8 Monarch Powerhouse S attacked at the same time. Mutated. Too fast. Everything happened too quickly, to the point that no one could react to it. Long Fei's mind tightened. His right hand moved. Heavy sword has no edge. The heavy sword fell down, blocking horizontally. However, even if he reacted in time to block the fatal blow, but the power of level 8 Emperor was too strong. Long Fei quickly slashed backwards. The web of his palm split open, and fresh blood dripped down. His entire arm felt as if it was going numb. His internal organs were also in turmoil. It was extremely uncomfortable. Zheng Yuanhang was directly flung out as he fell to the ground with heavy injuries, blood continuously spitting out from his mouth. The dragon sword suddenly turned. To return back to Long Fei's side, there is no one more important to you than Long Fei. Not to mention Chu Qing. Even if one were to step into the first heaven, he would still not be as important as Long Fei, because Long Fei was his master. The Xinchalong sword floated beside Long Fei and said solemnly, Master, I want to kill them all. Buzz. Boom. When the sword's cry exploded, the sky and earth trembled, and the god's Devil City shook even more violently. He was furious. Looking at the blood on Long Fei's hands, the dragon sword was enraged. What a powerful divine treasure. This divine treasure, possessing his own spiritual consciousness, this sword. Too powerful. Oneroff God's Devil City was extremely shocked. He knew in his heart that once the dragon sword breaks out, it was possible that his God's Devil City would be gone. Immediately. Oneroff God's Devil City turned his hand, grabbed Chu Qing's throat, and said with a heavy voice, Stop your sword from me, or I'll kill her. Buzz! 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 The power of a sword chime was unleashed one after another. Now, as long as Long Fei gave the order, the Xinchalong sword would slaughter everyone. But Long Fei saw that Chu Qing was being controlled, and his heart sank. The idea immediately ordered, Don't move recklessly. The Xinchalong sword raged with rage, and said, Master, he is threatening you. Long Fei said, Don't move, restrain your power. The Xinchalong sword was unwilling, but still followed through. The sword hums disappeared. The Oneroff God's Devil City immediately laughed. Actually, his heart had been trembling just now, because he was unable to confirm whether the Chu-Ching in his hands could really threaten Long Fei or not. However, he won the bet. Chu-Ching was indeed Long Fei's weakness. Because of this, Owner Off God's Devil City laughed wildly in a complacent manner. Ha ha ha, ha ha. Boy, you want to kill me? You have to have the ability to do so too, huh? I hate it when people threaten me the most. Long Fei said as his eyes darkened. However, I'll give you a chance today. Let us go. I guarantee that you will be very safe. He felt a surge of rage. Chu-Ching's kindness attracted Long Fei, so a girl like her could not die so easily. The hearts of men were kind. The world should have more people like Chu-Ching. Owner Off God's Devil City laughed coldly. You dog, do you think you want to put your sword on this daddy's neck? If you did not have this sword, would a trash like you be able to intrude into my city lord's mansion? Let you go. Haha. Sure, kneel down and count out to call me grandpa. If you make me happy, maybe I'll let you go, huh? Ha ha. The surrounding lackeys all began to laugh. Long Fei's eyes turned sinister. His anger became even more intense, and he said faintly, I gave you a chance. Yo, you want to use that sword of yours to kill me again? I'm so scared. However, if you want to kill me, you have to kill this beautiful little beauty first. Owner Off God's Devil City laughed. Come on, let's fight. Buzz. The sword hummed. Long Fei's idea also moved along. In almost an instant, the Xinchalong sword pierced through the air and disappeared. Owner Off God's Devil City's gaze tightened. His 2 fingers became even more forceful, and he shouted, Come, kill me. Let's see who'll be faster. Chu-Ching's face was pale, and she could not say a word. Buzz. Long Fei's idea sunk. He could not take this risk, because he didn't have absolute confidence. At this time, the Xinchalong sword was floating less than a meter away from Chu-Ching. Owner Off God's Devil City laughed sinisterly. Let's see who can be faster. Such a beautiful girl is still a virgin. What a pity. Long Fei clenched his fists tightly. The anger in his heart was boiling, but he was unusually calm, and said, This kind of stalemate will not benefit you, nor will it benefit me. As long as you let us leave, I promise I won't kill you. Owner Off God's Devil City said coldly. You're right, this kind of stalemate is not good for anyone, but do you want me to let you guys go? Do you think I believe you when I'm 3 years old? Long Fei asked. What do you want? The corners of Owner Off God's Devil City's mouth hooked up as he said, Why not take a gamble? Long Fei said, What do you want to bet? The Owner Off God's Devil City said, Each of you, send out 2 people to compete with each other. We will listen to whoever wins. Of course, your sword cannot participate. Other than this sword, anyone in God's Devil City could defeat Long Fei. Moreover, other than Long Fei and the female disciple, everyone else was injured. 2 people sparring? There aren't enough people. How can they compete? Qin Shuang said solemnly. No, your cultivation is too low, and you are not their match. This is not a fair battle. Owner Off God's Devil City laughed. This is my territory. I will decide whether it is fair or not. This is your only chance if you win. You guys leave if you lose. Leave your lives behind. Betting or not, this competition was completely unfair. However, how much in the world is fair? Long Fei looked at the female disciple who was not injured. He only took a glance. The Owner Off God's Devil City's God Realm Warrior power activated. Boom! Poochie. A mouthful of blood spurted from his mouth, and he was immediately severely injured. Now, all of them were severely injured, and no one could accompany Long Fei in the battle. Owner Off God's Devil City looked at Long Fei and said, Seems like you're going to fight 1 against 2. Ha ha! Kid, do you want to bet or not? Unless he cared about Chu-Ching's life or death, Long Fei had no choice. And Owner Off God's Devil City's goal was Long Fei's death. Once Long Fei died, the dragon sword would be ownerless. As long as he obtained this dragon sword, even if the elders of the Fatry sect came, he would not fear them. Betting or not, Owner Off God's Devil City replied heavily. The people of God's Devil City all revealed proud smiles as they looked at Long Fei. The corner of Long Fei's mouth rose as he smiled. Gamble. Someone is giving us experience. Why not? Haha. Chapter 2963. Unfair to them. Chapter 2963. Unfair to them, fair? It doesn't exist. Long Fei had never thought of the word fair before. To him, it was indeed a little unfair for the other two to have dealt with him. It wasn't him, but rather the two opposing him were unfair. Owner of God's Devil City never thought that Long Fei would actually agree to it. What was the difference between this and courting death? The trash of the soul realm. The royal realm could be crushed with a finger, but it was still 2-on-1. There was no suspense in this match. Qin Shuang said angrily, "Are you crazy? Who do you think you are? A single soul realm like you going against 2 level 8 monarchs powerhouses? Did your brain get flooded?" "I don't agree. I don't agree. Owner of God's Devil City. I don't agree to let him fight. It has nothing to do with me." Next, the two disciples hastily said, "We don't agree either. We definitely won't place our lives in his hands." Owner of God's Devil City sneered and said, "What use is it if you don't agree to my request? I have the final say in this matter." Ha ha! To him, victory was certain. Qin Shuang stared straight at Long Fei with extreme hatred, but he had no other choice. "Kid, if I were to die, all of this would be because of you." Long Fei didn't even spare a glance at Qin Shuang. If not for Chu Qing, Long Fei would never care about their lives. Chu Qing said faintly, "You must be careful." Long Fei nodded and said, "I will be careful." Owner of God's Devil City looked at Long Fei and asked, "Are you ready?" Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "I prepared it long ago." The owner of God's Devil City's gaze moved as he looked at the 2 level 8 emperors. The idea moved and said, "Kill him as fast as possible. Remember, don't leave any energy behind." The 2 old men nodded lightly. A trace of coldness could be seen on their faces. They were just soul realm. They could easily trample and crush them. This kind of trash could not even be considered as an ant in their eyes. At this moment, Long Fei shouted out and said, "About that, there's a question I want to ask you." Owner of God's Devil City asked, "Speak. What's the problem?" Long Fei said, "This competition is a 2v2 match, right?" Owner of God's Devil City laughed. "That's right, as long as any of them is willing to join in the battle with you." Just as he finished speaking, Qin Shuang said, "I don't want to." The other two immediately said, "I don't want to either." Not to mention that they were unwilling. Even if they were willing, they would still be severely injured. There was nothing they could do. Owner of God's Devil City laughed proudly. "No one is willing." Long Fei said, "I have never thought of letting them go together. Look at what the 3 of them look like. Do you still have any fighting strength? I'd rather have a dog with them, or at least a dog can bark, and there's nothing they can do." It was a fierce ridicule. The 3 of them had ugly expressions on their faces. Owner of God's Devil City said, "Since it's not them, are you courting death?" Long Fei said, "I brought my own people." Owner of God's Devil City asked, "You brought people? Who is it?" Long Fei said, "Just tell me if it's okay. Forget about people. Who can my cultivation in the soul realm bring to this place?" The owner of God's Devil City smiled faintly and said, "That's right. With your cultivation, you can't bring many people along. And judging from your relationship, you guys aren't people from the Fatry sect, so it's impossible for the disciples from the Fatry sect to have such low cultivations like you. However, although your cultivation is not high, you are stronger than them." Imperceptibly, another slap landed on the faces of Qin Shuang and the others. It was burning. It was very uncomfortable. The owner of God's Devil City was not afraid of Long Fei bringing out people who would gather according to the group. He could only make friends with people with similar cultivation. It was impossible for him to know some almighty powerhouse S. Not to mention, this was the God's Devil City, his territory. Where could Long Fei call people from? It doesn't exist. Long Fei said, "All right, then let's begin." Owner of God's Devil City was startled and said, "Start? Didn't you bring someone with you? Won't you call him out?" Long Fei laughed. They will come out soon. Owner off God's Devil City laughed coldly and said, Wait? Ha ha. Do you think you have a chance to wait? All right. Attack. Suddenly, the two level 8 Emperor Powerhouse S moved. Although Long Fei was not even considered as an ant in their eyes, they still followed Owner off God's Devil City's orders completely. He wanted to unleash his strongest power, not giving Long Fei the slightest of chances. The two of them moved, attacking from left and right. His speed was like a gale, and at the same time, two enormous pressuring auras came crushing down like two mountains pressing down. Boom, boom, boom. The air continued to emit explosive sounds. Too fast, too fierce, unstoppable. Owner off God's Devil City laughed. Prepare to die. Little beauty, you're mine now. And this divine treasure, you're mine too. Owner off God's Devil City was extremely excited, as if he had gotten everything. Chu Qing stared at Long Fei, not daring to say a word, as he was extremely worried. Qin Shuang's face was filled with contempt. You overestimate yourself. Trash. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. Extreme resentment. Looking at the two balls of enormous power charging towards Long Fei, their hearts turned cold. This was not giving Long Fei a chance at all. There was no hope at all. Those people from the God's Devil City also laughed. With the help of the two great protectors, how could a mere soul realm's scum possibly survive? An existence that could instantly kill someone. No one favored Long Fei. However, just as the two great protectors were about to rush to Long Fei's side, all of a sudden, one of the black robes of the blood cloud moved slightly, and a blood-red light descended. His eyes blurred. Buzz. All of a sudden, it was as if the entire world had fallen into an unfathomable illusion. The two head protectors retracted their powers in an instant and stood rooted to the spot, not moving at all, as though they were 250 years old. Time seemed to stop. What's going on? What's going on? Kill him. Kill him. Kill him. Kill him. Owner off God's Devil City shouted crazily. However, the two head protectors acted as if they didn't hear anything. At this moment, their world was filled with an incomparable pain as their throats were tightly gripped. But they couldn't struggle. It was like watching himself die little by little. Drip, 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 drip. He was scared to the point of peeing. Urine dripped from his crotch. It was also at this time that Long Fei's right hand slightly moved, and the heavy sword fell with no edges. He slightly raised his eyes, looked at Owner off God's Devil City, and said, This match is truly very unfair. It's unfair to them. As soon as he finished speaking, the heavy sword in Long Fei's hand suddenly moved. His figure flashed forward like lightning. Boom! It passed through his body. There was no pain. There was more relief in his eyes, as if he had walked out from the pain of death. Bam! He fell to the ground. His chest was torn open and fresh blood spurted out from it. He struggled for a moment before speaking up. The HP on top of his head dropped to 0. Die. The system sounded out. Ding! Chapter 2964. Forcing Lousy to Fury? Chapter 2964. Forcing Lousy to Fury? Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing God's Devil City's protector, for obtaining 38,000 experience points, 30,000 true spiritual value, and 1 universal value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining. A few junk dropped. Long Fei did not even look at him, and leisurely walked to the side of the other chief protector. The two of them glanced at Owner off God's Devil City, and the corners of their mouths curled. Ha ha ha! Laughing wildly, the heavy sword moved once again. One slash. His head flew off, and his body fell to the ground. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing God's Devil City's protector, for obtaining 38,000 experience points, 30,000 true spiritual value, and 1 universal value. Congratulations, player. A few more junk. Long Fei took it back together. Long Fei looked at Owner off God's Devil City and said, You've lost. In just a few seconds, the two kings' level 8 protectors had been killed just like that. as if they were in a dream. That's not right. He couldn't even dream of such a terrifying dream. It was too scary. His scalp was going numb. Not only was it those people from the gods' devil city, even Qin Shuang's eyes were wide opened as he looked at Long Fei. He couldn't find any words to replace his shock. It was as if Long Fei was a huge mountain that soared into the sky. High, big, mighty, fierce. It was as if he was invincible in this world. Qin Shuang always thought that Long Fei was a country bumpkin, a trash of the soul realm, but now, compared to Long Fei, he felt that he was only trash, a country bumpkin, a piece of trash from the royal realm. It was too hard. This wasn't slapping him in the face. This was kicking him onto the ground and mercilessly stomping on his face, and he didn't have any way of resisting. Just from that move, just now. If it had been him, he would have also been instantly killed, or even more miserably. The other man and woman also did the same, as they looked at Long Fei like he was a god. He was speechless. Chu Qing laughed softly as his eyes narrowed, making them look like two crescent moons. Beautiful beyond compare. Onaroff God's Devil City's throat was dry. He looked at the cold man beside Long Fei. He had never seen this kind of outfit before, nor this kind of power. It was not the power of the universal realm at all. Onaroff God's Devil City's heart slightly trembled. No, impossible you, how could you? Long Fei did not pay any attention to him. You've lost, release him. Onaroff God's Devil City's gaze suddenly tightened. His previously relaxed hand grabbed onto Chu Qing's throat again as he said in a heavy voice, You are a demon. This match is not counted. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, Not counted? Sure, then please send more people out to fight me. I'll take as many as I can, and you guys can all come at me together. I don't care anyway. Mongoose King you, the ferret replied coolly, Sure. The sound was like death itself. It had to be said that the weasel was very cool. If it wasn't for the need, Long Fei wouldn't be willing to summon it out. Onaroff God's Devil City said heavily, You're the one who said that. Attack. Let's attack together. Kill him. However, no one dared to step forward. If an Emperor level 8 was instantly killed like that, wouldn't it be the same if they went up? Moreover, they were all frightened by the weasel. This coal man was like a devil. Onaroff God's Devil City's eyes flashed with anger, and he roared, Didn't you hear my order? He's just a soul realm. He can't handle all of you. At this time, an elder said, Mayor, why don't you come by yourself? Exactly. Call us to do everything. We don't have any benefits. If it wasn't for the fact that your cultivation is the highest, would we have followed you? Go on yourself. I heard that the Fatry sect only wants your head. They didn't say they want our heads. Yes, I heard that too. It's all because you're bullying men and killing and looting. We are all pure Shao by dishes. Have you done anything at all? The wall was pushed by everyone. Even if you're the mayor, at this moment, no one is willing to stand on your side. The ferret's power was terrible. They had no idea how to deal with it. Onaroff God's Devil City was extremely furious. You're rebelling? You bunch of trash. Humph. His body slightly moved, and with one hand on Chu Qing's throat and the other on Chu Qing's back, he hid behind Chu Qing. When the Xinchalong sword saw him move, it also followed suit and maintained a certain distance from him. Onaroff God's Devil City said solemnly, Brat, get your sword away from me, or I'll kill her immediately. Long Fei's gaze darkened as he said, Like I said before, I hate people who threaten me the most in my entire life. Don't think that I have no other choice. Very unhappy. Onaroff God's Devil City said coldly, You better not make me go crazy. I'm someone who can do anything and do anything. Even if I die, she's got to die. While they were talking, he exerted even more force. Chu Qing was out of breath, and his face had turned even paler. F***CK. Long Fei cursed, the anger in his heart flaring up. He could no longer control it. Onaroff God's Devil City said sinisterly, Now move your sword away from me, immediately. The muscles at the corner of Long Fei's eyes twitched, his killing intent becoming denser. Ooh, all right. Long Fei moved his idea, and the Xinchalong sword returned to his side with a swoosh. Long Fei said, Let her go now. I can spare your life. Umph. Ha. Spare me and not die. Boy, who do you think you are? You think you are invincible with so many treasures on you? Aren't they still under my control? When Onaroff, God's Devil City, saw that Long Fei had compromised with him, he became even more excited. As long as he could control Chu Qing, there was nothing Long Fei could do to him. Then, Onaroff, God's Devil City, said solemnly, "Now, I order you to kneel down." Long Fei's eyes darkened and said, "You're King eager to take an inch, aren't you?" The Onaroff, God's Devil City sneered. "That's right, this daddy here is going overboard. What's wrong? Kneel or not? If you don't kneel, you'll never see her again." Fury. The killing intent was dense. "I'm really very unhappy," Onaroff, God's Devil City said proudly. His dirty hands could not even forgive Chu Qing, and was now trying to take Chu Qing's life. Long Fei's pupils contracted. The Onaroff, God's Devil City roared, "Kneel down, do you hear me?" Ha! Chu Qing was speechless and continued to shake his head. "Kneel! Kneel!" Onaroff, God's Devil City's voice was constantly getting louder and more excited. As long as Long Fei kneeled down, he could propose an even more excessive request. He also understood the weight of the card in his hand. Onaroff, God's Devil City was betting too. However, he knew that he had won the bet. The more Long Fei suffered, the greater his chance of winning. "You dog, I told you to kneel down," Onaroff, God's Devil City roared. Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Long Fei looked up and said, "Kneel before your 18 generations of ancestors." Boom! With a move of his right hand, the killing sword flew out. Chapter 2965, Explosion Attribute, Power of Creation. Chapter 2965, Explosion Attribute, Power of Creation. Whoosh! The killing sword moved and entered the void. At the same time, Long Fei's idea sank. Dragon Sword. In an instant, the two eyes of the Onaroff, God's Devil City shone with killing sword S. The sword was as thin as a dagger. One sword was like a raging dragon. Once the two swords appeared, they instantly pierced through the void. At the same time, Long Fei's idea S were split into two. Swish, swish. Onaroff, God's Devil City's gaze tensed up, revealing a sinister look. "You want me to die? Then she'll go and die for me first. With her accompanying me on the path to the underworld, I earned a lot. Don't worry, I will still take good care of you once I get to the underworld." The Onaroff, God's Devil City himself was very clear that he was not a match for the Xinchalong sword. When the Xinchalong sword pierced over, he knew that he would not survive. Thus, he was completely willing to go all out. Ha! Onaroff, God's Devil City laughed out loud. However, just as he was laughing maniacally, a small sword pierced through the back of his head. Blood gushed out. His mouth was full of words. The pain was excruciating, and a damage value floated above his head. 394,729, 3-inch, but his HP wasn't low. He wasn't dead. The limit of the killing sword? The limit of the power of the ancient inheritance? Not really. The power of the Mahayana realm was extremely strong, but Long Fei was unable to unleash all of its power. But the Onaroff, God's Devil City was an Emperor strongman, so a single slash couldn't kill him in an instant. Long Fei also understood. However, the Xinchalong sword caught the attention of the Onaroff, God's Devil City and focused on its attacks. A single strike succeeded. In that instant, in that moment of incomparable pain, a person's instinctive reaction would be to save themselves instead of to kill people. Onaroff, God's Devil City was the same. He was in incomparable pain, and blood was flowing out of his throat crazily. At that moment, it could be said that in a tenth of a second, he was struggling in pain. When he finally reacted, his two fingers moved and he roared. Blood gushed out of his throat as he muttered, "Let's die together." Bam! Shwa! Before he could finish, Onaroff, God's Devil City's head flew out. Bam! It was nailed to the wall, not far away. Half of his body was still standing there, unmoving. With a single sword blow, his head exploded. The remaining HP on the top of his head also instantly bottomed out. Cough, cough. Chu Qing let out a heavy cough, causing Long Fei's heart to abruptly loosen up as he sat down on the ground, paralyzed, gasping for air. At this moment, Long Fei was completely drenched. At the same time, he controlled both the Xinchalong sword and the killing sword, overdrawing his body. He was completely unable to control the release of the two types of power. Moreover, at that moment, his mind was tense to the point that it would break with a slight bang. It was too uncomfortable. He was sweating profusely. Long Fei gasped for breath heavily. Hoo. Fortunately, it was a success. The system sounded out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Oneroff God's Devil City, for obtaining 20,000 experience, 180,000 true spirit, and 1 universal value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Evil Blade. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Evil Spirit Robe. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Evil Spirit Bead. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining various types of almost half a demon set. However, they were all immortal martial level weapons, and even Holy Artifact had not reached that level. Long Fei reclaimed everything the moment he moved his hand, and 20 million experience points was transferred into his account. The system sounded out again. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level, Celestial Phenomenon Ascendant. Haha! I leveled up again. Awesome! Long Fei let out a heavy shout. The feeling of leveling up was too comfortable, and a warm feeling flowed out from his body as all the attributes in his body changed. The power of Celestial Phenomenon was channeled into his body. Celestial Phenomenon Realm. The strength of 1 Celestial Phenomenon Ascendant. He clenched his fists. Roar. It was like the roar of an ancient mammoth. Just as Long Fei's heart was about to contract, the system beep sounded out once again. There's more. Long Fei became excited. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for slaying the 10 evils. Within the system interface, a rainbow-colored liquid quietly floated in the air. It was serene and full of kindness. The power of good karma? Long Fei's heart sank. The power of creation, is that awesome? In other novels, only Almighty Powerhouse-s have such things. I didn't expect it to come out. Let's see what the attributes are. Item: the power of creation, unique, attack, none speed, none special strength. After a player uses it, they can gain 10,000 lucky value, 10,000 human value, and 10,000 charm value in 3 minutes. Special strength: the ability to revive the dead when used by people other than players. Special strength: 10,000 times better than normal. Special hint: do not use it to do evil, or else it will not trigger any attributes. Looking at the description of the power of good luck, Long Fei's mouth was so wide open that it could fit an egg inside. 10,000 lucky value points. 10,000 points in luck value. 10,000 points in charm value. Oh my god, is Lousy going to be so damn handsome? Isn't this a tribute too abnormal? More than perverted. He was a complete freak. Not only could it be used by others, it could also be used by others. What did this mean? That meant he had an extra life. Incredible, incredible. System, I have to say, your reward is as perfect as an explosion. Ha, I like it. Long Fei was so excited that he was about to jump. This made him extremely happy. With the power of good karma, there will definitely be other powers of karma as well. It seems like there are still many things that have yet to be developed from the Grandma's system. Time to play, Long Fei muttered. At this moment, Chu Qing's expression recovered slightly as he walked to Long Fei's side and said, "Thank you." Long Fei recovered her expression and said, "You are so beautiful, so beautiful. There is no need to thank me." Chu Qing smiled faintly. At this time, Qin Shuang also climbed up with much difficulty. He was very unhappy with Long Fei, and at one point, he even wanted to get rid of Long Fei. If not for Long Fei, the few of them would all die here. Furthermore, the strength that Long Fei had displayed was too strong, so the powerhouse had to respect him. Qin Shuang replied heavily, "Thank you for saving my life. I will never forget it." It was from the bottom of his heart. Although the other two disciples were unwilling, they still bowed and said, "Thank you for saving my life. I will never forget." In the distance, Zheng Yuanhang also said weakly, "Thank you, Brother Long, for saving my life." The feeling of being thanked was simply too great. However, all of these were not the main point. The main point was that Long Fei was overjoyed. What about them? How should I deal with it? Qin Shuang swept his gaze across the people in God's Devil City who were still in a daze. Chu Qing said, "Owner off God's Devil City is dead, and we have completed our mission, so let them go. What do you think?" He looked at Long Fei. Long Fei faintly smiled and said, "Whatever you say is fine." Of course, he had to listen to the words of the beautiful women. However, even if you want to hear, experience points is still a must. Long Fei was not the kind of person who would forget everything once he had a beauty, let alone this was a huge amount of experience. How could he let go of it? The idea moved. Dragon Sword, you will stay to finish. Chapter 2966. Enrichment of Experience. Chapter 2966. Enrichment of Experience. If a girl wanted to take a bath, she had to have a lot of experience. Long Fei's personality was that when using both hands to grab, both hands would become hard. Watching Long Fei's group of 6 walk out of the God's Devil City, the people from the God's Devil City all let out sighs of relief. A good person, good people, stupid, huh? These lousy, inexperienced little scumbags simply do not understand the dangers of the world. If it wasn't for that brat, all of these trash from the factory sect would have died here. Elder, is tomorrow's plan going to change? Should we retract it a little? Tomorrow at Qin Family Town, I will loot everything clean. Now that the city lord is dead, from today onwards, I will be the owner off God's Devil City. Haha. Reform? Become a new person? There was a saying, dogs can't stop eating shit. They were evil by nature, and even if they were spared once, they would not change. Just as they were talking joyously, ridiculing Long Fei and the rest were retarded, a sword hum suddenly exploded out. Buzz. Everyone slowly turned their heads to look. Instantly, everyone's gaze tightened and their eyes trembled. Bam! Bam! My lord, we were wrong. We were wrong. The few elders heavily shouted. It's just a mere broken sword. I don't believe that he's that strong. Brothers, let's attack him together and give him to me. Not waiting for him to finish. The Xinchalong's sword moved. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The sword intent filled the sky at 360 degrees. It was an entire circle, and all of it was filled with sword images. A sound rang out in the air. Dragon sword cut. Boom! With just a thought, all of the sword shadows were killed. At the same time, the Xinchalong sword flew out and started harvesting in the God's Devil City. So. Harvest after harvest. The owner off God's Devil City screamed one after another. In the distance, what kind of business? Chu Qing turned his head to look in the direction of the God's Devil City and said softly. The system beep's voice resounded crazily in Long Fei's mind. It gathered its thoughts extremely quickly, and his experience points had also risen along the way. After all, they survived. Chu Qing laughed lightly and said, "Humans are good. I hope that they can change and start anew from now on, and be good people. Kind." Chu Qing's eyes were filled with innocence and goodwill. She was as pure as a white lotus. This was what attracted Long Fei the most. Qin Shuang said, "Qing'er, this world is not as good as you think. You spared the evil people of God's Devil City today. So many people will suffer tomorrow because of this." Zheng Yuanhang added, "The people in the God's Devil City are all heinous criminals. If not, the commoners would not have gone to the factory sect for help from such a distance." It was because of the help of these commoners that the factory sect gave the order. And because of these orders, they had a mission. In a large sect, on the blessing side, this was the responsibility of the sect. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, "Perhaps they will really change. Even if we don't change them, they won't be able to do anything to us." Qin Shuang looked at Long Fei. He did not know why, but ever since he came out of God's Devil City, he had felt that Long Fei was just too mysterious. Even though his cultivation did not seem high, the divine treasures on his body kept appearing one after another. Fighting with such a person was too terrifying. Even if your cultivation is high, but once he goes berserk, he could even kill you with a godly weapon. Then again, Long Fei saved them, saved Chu Qing. No matter how unhappy he was with Long Fei, the powerhouse was the law and everything. He was completely convinced. Buzz! With a light sound in the air, the Xinchalong sword returned to Long Fei's side. 2 days later, in an open space, Qin Shuang took out the flying shuttle and asked, "Big Brother Long, where are you going?" In these 2 days of contact, Long Fei went from being a country bumpkin and trash in their mouths to the current Big Brother Long. Other than feeling admiration for Long Fei's fighting prowess, he also paid his respects to Long Fei's barbecue meat. Qin Shuang said, "Actually, you're not in Lujia village, right?" Long Fei said, "Since Lujia village is destroyed, there is no need for me to return. My fairy city has a distant expression. I want to go to Fairy City." Fairy City? Chu Qing became excited and said, "Senior fellow Qin, it's been a long time since we went to the Fairy City to play. We just happen to have a few days left before we submit our mission. Let's go play. Master will not know." Zheng Yuanhang also said, "I also agree. I'm going to the city to buy a few things." "We'll go too," Shui and Wu Bin said at the same time. Long Fei felt grateful in his heart. Actually, there was no need for them to go to the Fairy City at all. Qin Shuang laughed. "Good. I also want to trade for a good weapon. Then I'll go take a look." "Let's go." Big Brother Long Fei still hasn't come back. It was unknown how many times Su had asked. She had lost a lot of weight in the past half-month. Lan Mei was the same. Tan DePeo shook his head and said, "The Xianwu Pavilion did not give the result. Not only did the boss not return, the Xianwu Pavilion Lord did not too. Moreover, there's a rumor outside that the Xianwu Pavilion Lord is dead." Su and Lan Mei's gaze tightened as they asked, "Then what about Long Fei?" "It was the Xianwu Pavilion Lord who took him away. How is he now?" Tan DePeo replied, "There's no news about boss." "No way." Lan Mei instantly became nervous. "I'm going to look for him." Su immediately said, "I'm coming too." As the two people spoke, they were about to leave the courtyard, but were stopped by Tan DePeo and said, "You can't go. There are Wu family secret sentries outside the Xianwu Pavilion, and they're keeping an eye on you every day. If you guys leave, it's too dangerous. The boss said that I must protect you." Tan DePeo was also worried in his heart. He couldn't wait to fly out of the Fairy City to find Long Fei, but he did not. He could not leave so easily. Otherwise, Su and Lan Mei would be in danger. The most important thing was the news of the Xianwu Pavilion Lord's death spread like wildfire, causing the Wu family to become restless. If the Xianwu Pavilion Lord really was dead, then the Wu family would definitely make a move against the Xianwu Pavilion. After all, Long Fei crippled Wu Tianlong's lifeblood in the Xianwu Pavilion. With the Wu family's personality, they would definitely take revenge. He couldn't let the two of them leave either. Tan DePeo said, "Even if you go out to look, where can you go? We don't even know where our boss is. The only thing we can do now is to wait." "Then let's go ask the Xianwu Pavilion elders for an explanation." Lan Mei said, "They must know where the Xianwu Pavilion Lord has gone to. As long as there's an address, we will go look. I don't want to wait like this." Every day was torture. When Long Fei left, her heart hung heavy every single day. Su was the same. Tan DePeo said, "I'll go and ask. You guys stay here and don't go out." "Young master, those three are still hiding in Xianwu Pavilion. I haven't come out even once in the past half-month." Wu Tianlong squinted his eyes. His crotch was still aching, and he asked, "Has the death of the Xianwu Pavilion Lord been confirmed?" An elder said lightly, "It should be true." The corner of Wu Tianlong's mouth curled up as he let out a cold laugh. Chapter 2967, Internal Disturbance in Xian Wu Pavilion. Chapter 2967, Internal Disturbance in Xian Wu Pavilion. The people of the Wu family wanted to know if the Xian Wu Pavilion Lord was still alive or not. Similarly, Xian Wu Pavilion was also investigating. How is it? Have you found anything? In the hall in the backyard of Xian Wu Pavilion, an elder walked in, and Yi Qingshan immediately asked in an urgent voice. The elder's forehead tightened. When the crowd saw his expression, their hearts turned cold. The high-grade, immortal weapons of the Xian Wu Pavilion were all forged by the Xian Wu Pavilion Lord. If he lacked these high-grade immortal weapons, the Xian Wu Pavilion might not be able to hold on. After all, for an arms pavilion to produce ordinary weapons and to have high-level weapons, that was the only way to guarantee its status. Moreover, there was an unwritten rule for all sorts of goods in Fairy City. Challenge. The place that sold spirit pills would compete with alchemy. The place that sold weapons was to challenge equipment forging. The loser would give up his land, sign an unequal treaty, or merge. No one dared to challenge the Xian Wu Pavilion Lord at his doorstep, not only because of his cultivation and refining strength, but also because his mysterious relationship with the Fatry sect. But now, it was unknown whether the Xian Wu Pavilion Lord was dead or alive, and this made all those forces in the outside world who wanted to annex the Xian Wu Pavilion restless, especially the Wu family. It could be said that they had come here 3 days ago to customize advanced-level immortal weapons. If he could not hand over his immortal weapon on time, then the reputation of the Xian Wu Pavilion would come to an end. Yi Qingshan let out a heavy breath and said, "If there's anything to say, then say it." That elder slightly said, "I can't find out whether Grand Court is dead or alive, but I know why Grand Court is going there this time." All the elders looked at him. Grand Court is going to participate in the gathering of the divine weapons. This is the mission of the God's Design Attic. If you can appraise a divine weapon attribute, you will be eligible to enter the God's Design Attic. Everyone was shocked. To refiners like them, the God's Design Attic was like a shrine. It was the highest goal they had ever pursued in their lives. His eyes were blazing. God's Design Attic was too high and unreachable. It was too far away. What was the result? Yi Qingshan's eyes also flashed with a strange light. Like the other refiners, his goal in life was to enter the God's Design Attic. But they didn't even have the qualifications to be invited to participate. Even Xian Wu Pavilion only barely qualified because of their relationship with the Fatry sect. The elder shook his head and said, "I don't know either, but the pavilion master of the Sea Tempering Pavilion has not returned. The pavilion master of the Lei Gang Pavilion and the dozen or so refining chief masteress within the western regions. All of them are genius artificers from the past 100 years. None of them have returned." What? What happened? Not a single one. In the hall, the faces of the elders were all gloomy and filled with astonishment. In the Ocean Refining Pavilion, Lei Gang Pavilion was an extremely famous weapon refining great clan of the western regions. They held extremely high statuses, and even the Xian Wu Pavilion was not as powerful as them. The dozen or so grandmasters of refining had all disappeared at the same time. This was too unbelievable. It could be said that it would have an enormous impact on the entire refining world of western regions. Yi Qingshan said, "I heard that the God's Design Attic only accepts a maximum of 9 disciples every year. There are only one in each of the realms in the primordial 9 regions. How could so many master refiners disappear in one night? God's Design Attic would not accept so many people." An elder said, "The only possibility is something's happened." Everyone shivered. The elder said, "I'm not sure about the specifics, but I heard that the Sea Tempering Pavilion selected a successor from within. Seems like the rumors are true. Our Grand Court is afraid." Everyone's hearts sank as they sat on their chairs, unable to speak. At the same time, their brains were also thinking of another problem. Since the Xian Wu Pavilion-s of the Xian Wu Pavilion were no longer present, then giving a seat to them. Then again, the Xian Wu Pavilion was fighting for gold every day. A single immortal weapon could sell for several million and up to 10 million Grand Mist crystals. To anyone, this was a huge temptation. Half a moment later, a white-haired old man stood up and said, Sienwu Pavilion cannot live without an owner for a day. We should also make some preparations. Yi Qingshan immediately replied, Grand Court's fate is unknown. To do this at this point in time, I'm afraid it's not suitable. Why not? If the Grand Court can return, then he is still the Grand Court of the Sienwu Pavilion. If he can't, then our headquarters can wait for a lifetime, right? Right now, Sienwu Pavilion has a mountain of orders in the most days, so we should at least think of a way to settle them, right? I agree with Elder Yan's proposal to elect a new pavilion master. As soon as he finished speaking, another few elders also agreed. I agree too. I agree. Sienwu Pavilion can't do without a leader. Here, Elder Yan has the most experience, and he has also stepped into the 9th stage of the immortal stage. He is considered one of the top master refiners among us, and is qualified to become a Grand Court in the end. If you say so, I don't agree. Elder Yin is not bad, but Elder Gua isn't bad either. He has to have experience, and most importantly, his refining realm is just a bit higher than Elder Yan's. An elder slammed the table and stood up. Elder Yu, what do you mean by this? The other elder didn't dare to be weak. He shouted, Elder Zhou, what is the meaning of this? In an instant, the main hall was in chaos. He raised his sleeves as if he wanted to fight. At this time, an assistant walked to the entrance of the hall. Clan Elder Tandapeo is here again. His voice was quiet for a moment. One of the clan elders bellowed, Get that trash from the East Imperial City to get the hell out of here. He keeps asking questions every day. Who the hell does he think he is? And then, the hall was once again in an uproar. Yi Qingshan shook his head and sighed, then walked out. Elder Yi, what's the situation? Tandapeo asked anxiously. Yi Qingshan looked at Tandapeo and said, Canon, I will tell you the truth. Brother Long Fei is most likely not alive. You guys should not go to the factory sect to participate in the selection. The Wu family will not let you go. Furthermore, the Wu family will not let you go easily. Go back and pack up. I will think of a way for you to leave. Impossible. Tendapeo's gaze tightened and said, My boss has experienced many things. Something can never happen to him. Yi Qingshan said, This is not a small place like East Imperial City. It was not that he looked down on the East Imperial City, but that he did not say that the Sienwu Pavilion could not return. So why would Long Fei return? It was simply impossible. Moreover, if it wasn't for the fact that Long Fei helped them appraise the Sword of War God, and if Yi Qingshan was grateful in his heart, he wouldn't have helped Tandapeo. It wouldn't have been an easy task to arrange for them to leave. All right, that's it. Go back and make some preparations. Wait for my notification. Yi Qingshan walked out in large strides, and after walking a few steps, he muttered, I wonder if he'll be able to escape. He wasn't sure. However, he would do his best. Tandapeo stood in place, his eyes stared straight ahead as he muttered to himself, Boss will definitely be fine. Definitely not. Absolutely not. Let's not talk about the fairy city. Even if he was in the God's tribe, I can guarantee that nothing would happen to him. So how could a mere fairy city stop him? Chapter 2968, Finally Back. Chapter 2968, Finally Back. Good news. Young master, good news. At the Wu residence, a lackey hurriedly ran in. In Wu Tianlong's room, the backs of the two women were slapped until their flesh was split open, and they cried softly, Who's useless? Who's useless? You think I'm useless? His eyes were glaring furiously, and his entire body was trembling with rage. Facing two women who were still naked, Wu Tianlong did not react at all. He hated it. Incomparable hatred. In his mind, he couldn't wait to pinch Long Fei to pieces. Young master, good news. The little minion Luo Chong rushed into the room. When he saw this scene, his expression changed, and he immediately lowered his head, pretending that he didn't see anything. The whole Wu family knew that Wu Tianlong could not handle matters regarding him. Only Wu Tianlong himself did not know about it, but his eyes darkened. Staring straight at the small fry Luo, he said, If it is not good news, I will take your dog life. Speak. Xiao Bu Luo's body trembled. His face paled slightly as he said, Sienwu Pavilion, The elders of the Xianwu Pavilion are helping the Grand Court get the upper hand. It should be, Xianwu Pavilion should be dead. In addition, I received news that not only the Xianwu Pavilion S, but also the Grand Court S and more than a dozen other master refiners have disappeared. I heard that they were attacked by the Devil Sect. Ha! All right. Wu Tianlong immediately became excited, his eyes sinister. He gnashed his teeth and said, "Trash from East Imperial City. Let me see how long you can hide for. I can't feel good. I want you to pay 1,000 times, 1,000 times." Immediately, Wu Tianlong let out a heavy cry and said, "Call everyone here. Smooth it out with me." Ha ha! He had finally arrived at this moment. Long Fei knelt in front of him and begged. Su Su and Lan Mei, the two women, begged him to forgive them. However, without waiting for Wu Tianlong to come out of the room. Cough, cough. Two coughs sounded. Wu Tianlong shuddered and immediately retracted his ruthless aura, bowing as he said, "Father, the leader of the Wu family, Wu Ba." Behind him were two old men. One was Wu Tianlong's uncle, Wu Zhong. The other was the elder refining that the Wu family worshipped. A master refiner above the immortal grade. Wu Ba said slightly, "Sky Dragon, where are you going? Either you don't do it or you do it yourself. It's the same when you're stepping on people. Do you understand?" Wu Tianlong was a little confused. He looked at his father and muttered, "Father." Wu Ba scoffed coldly. He was truly furious at this good-for-nothing son of his. If he wasn't surnamed Wu and wasn't his son, he would have slapped him right away. Wu Ba let out a long breath and said, "Bring Uncle Zhong and Elder He along." "What Uncle Zhong will give you to do, just eat the Xianwu Pavilion first, and you can punish them whatever you want them to do." This time, Wu Tianlong understood. He immediately became excited and said, "Dad, I got it." "Ha ha, you dog, let's see how I'll kill you this time." Wu Tianlong laughed sinisterly. With the death of Grand Court, no one would be a match for Wu Zhong. Furthermore, with Izun as a master refiner, Xianwu Pavilion can do whatever he wants to do so. Let's go. Go to Xianwu Pavilion. Wu Tianlong took large strides forward. Wu Ba watched as Wu Tianlong and the others walked out of the Wu residence with a faint smile. With his Wu family's character, they would definitely take revenge. His son's life was in ruins. This was slapping the Wu family's face. It was slapping Wu Ba's face. How could he not take revenge? Then again, revenge was one part of it, while annexation of the Xianwu Pavilion was another part of it. If they could swallow the Xianwu Pavilion, then the Wu family's power would be even stronger in the Fairy City. At least he could monopolize half of the Fairy City's weapon market. This was also the reason why Wu Ba had been paying attention to the Xianwu Pavilion. His news had come here even faster than Wu Tianlong, and also, he was 100% certain that all the weapons crafting masters who had gone to the Divine Weapon Appraisal Assembly had all died. There was no mistake to have his men at Devil Sect. Our Wu clan will definitely get stronger. Ha! Wu Ba laughed out loud. Xianwu Pavilion. In the rear courtyard, two crafting furnaces were crazily burning. Yin Kong and Guo Yin were both refining weapons with all their might. Their true souls were surging and their auras were exploding. It could be said that they were even using up all of their strength. This competition would decide who the Xianwu Pavilion-S were. No one dared to be negligent. He was going all out, not holding back at all. The levels of the two were about the same. It could be said that regardless of who was superior, it would all depend on who performed better. From the looks of it, Yin Kong's control was better. The temperature of the fire was controlled very steadily without any fluctuations. However, his refining techniques was following the normal procedure. There was nothing special about it. Even if he succeeded in refining it, it would only be an ordinary immortal weapon. Guo Yan's words made a strange sound. He was full of the spirit of adventure. If he succeeded, he would be able to completely crush Yin Kong. If he failed, this immortal weapon would be ruined. In the courtyard, the elders on both sides were also holding their breaths and trying their best to decide who would win and who would lose. It would determine their position in Xianwu Pavilion in the future. An hour had passed. The two blacksmiths' true souls had already been exhausted to the limit. It was also the most important moment. However, at this moment, boom, with an explosive sound, he kicked the Xian Wu Pavilion's door flying out. Wu Tianlong walked into the Xian Wu Pavilion and roared, "All of you, come out and die." Two employees of the Xian Wu Pavilion quickly walked over and asked, "Young Master Wu, what do you want to do?" "What for?" "Fuck you, father. Fuck your mother. Fuck your ancestors. You little trash. Do you have the qualifications to speak to me?" "Get out of my way," Wu Tianlong replied heavily. Luo Feng and the other two immediately rushed up and kicked on the ground. Wu Tianlong also walked to the backyard and watched the refining competition in the courtyard. He smiled excitedly and said, "Oh, you started it yourself? Wu Tianlong, what are you planning to do?" Yi Qingshan hurriedly walked over. Wu Tianlong smiled faintly and said, "What are you doing?" "It's very simple. I want to challenge artifact forging. I want to eat this Xian Wu Pavilion of yours." As soon as he finished speaking, the elders were stunned. This was especially true for the two elders who were in the midst of refining their weapons. At the same time, they saw the master refiner Hizun, whom the Wu family consecrate was even more skilled than them, and felt anxious in their hearts. Their true souls immediately became chaotic. Bang, bang. Two loud sounds. Simultaneously, the furnace exploded. Wu Tianlong laughed like a blossoming flower. "Ha ha, the furnace is exploding. This old man will make all of you kneel in front of me today." In another place. "Huff, I'm finally back. I almost couldn't come back." The moment Long Fei got off the flying shuttle, he finally relaxed. Chu Qing could not wait any longer. "Quickly, bring me to meet those two sisters." Chapter 2969, Refining Fire. Chapter 2969, Refining Fire Xian Wu Pavilion. Both of them failed when the crafting furnace exploded. This was still secondary. The most important thing was that both of them had suffered significant internal injuries. It was impossible for them to refine another weapon. Then again, Hizun's skill in artifact forging was even above theirs, so why would he want to win? It was absolutely impossible. Yi Qingshan took a glance at Yin Kong and Guayan's pale faces and said faintly, "Young Master Wu, it's not convenient for our Xian Wu Pavilion to accept the challenge today. It's not convenient for you to meddle in my business, as long as it's convenient for me." Wu Tianlong sneered, looked left and right, then said with glee, "I've always heard that Xian Wu Pavilion is not bad, and I've never come in to take a look, and it's really not bad. Don't just stand there. Let's begin." "Elder Wu Tianlong replied respectfully. Hizun walked out with a similar sneer on his face. Other than the Grand Court, he had never placed these people in his eyes. These people were not qualified to compete with him in artifact forging. Hizun said in disdain, "Are you going up one by one, or do we attack together?" The faces of everyone from Xian Wu Pavilion darkened. However, no one dared to make a sound. It was because they knew Hizun's skill in smithing that they were not his match. Yi Qingshan said, "Hizun, you're too arrogant." Hizun coldly glanced at Yi Qingshan and said, "Right, I am Kwang, what about it?" Yi Qingshan's gaze tensed up. Hizun continued to speak. "You trash, hurry up, don't waste this old man's time." Wu Tianlong laughed out loud and said, "Did you hear that, trash? I told you to hurry up, don't be so childish." "Ha, too awesome. When I was crushed in Xian Wu Pavilion, I feel so good now that I'm breathing out fiercely again." Yi Qingshan looked at Yin Kong. Yin Kong looked elsewhere and did not dare to look straight into Yi Qingshan's eyes. Yi Qingshan looked at Guayan, and Guayan did the same. Looking at the other high-ranking elder refining, they were all the same, either lowering their heads or looking elsewhere, obviously not wanting to go out and fight. Hizun said with an even more disdainful look on his face, "A bunch of trash." Yi Qingshan was heavily enraged and said, "I'll do it." Hizun's eyes glanced to the side as he looked at Yi Qingshan and said, "You?" "Ha ha." It was extremely disdainful. In the Xian Wu Pavilion, Yi Qingshan's level of artifact forging could only be considered average. There were a few that were stronger than him. For a dignified Xian Wu Pavilion like him, even if he were to die, he could not kneel down and die. Yi Qingshan took a step forward. "How do we compete?" Yin Kong immediately shouted, Yi Qing Shan, what do you want to do? How could you be his match with your strength? Guoyin also said, that's right. Even if you go up there, you will still lose. Don't embarrass our Xian Wu Pavilion. Yi Qing Shan self-deprecated. Do we Xian Wu Pavilion still have any face? When you were trying to snatch the position of Grand Court, each and every one of you were extremely arrogant. But now, you are all acting like cowards in front of an outsider. There are already people straddling our necks. If you can bear with it, I can't. Hizun, come on, how do we compete? Yi Qing Shan was filled with anger. Hizun smiled faintly and said, not bad. You have a bit of backbone. This world has only strength. Nothing good can come out of it. Finished. Hizun walked to the front of Yin Kong's refining platform. Looking at the failed immortal weapon, the idea swam about, and then moved its right hand, releasing its dense true spirit. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The fire raged, and in an instant, the temperature of the entire yard rose. It was like summer in the middle of winter, and the scorching sun seemed to be hanging over their heads. It made people sweat profusely. The elders were constantly at the back, unable to get close to the furnace. What does he want to do? That's the failed immortal weapon. Could it be that he wants to refine it anew? This is impossible. The clan elders of the Xian Wu Pavilion began to discuss with each other. Whether it was the materials or the inscriptions within the immortal weapon, a failed immortal weapon had already been destroyed and could no longer be repaired. Even if it could, the refined weapon would still be unable to reach the level of an immortal weapon. At most, it would just be an ordinary weapon. Yin Kong shook his head and said, impossible, it's impossible. Just now, it was a weapon that he failed to forge. He understood it better than anyone else. This weapon was already a piece of scrap metal. There was no longer any value in using it, and it was also impossible to refine another immortal weapon. However, Hizun's body seemed to emit a strange energy. Suddenly, buzz! A light whistle sounded and a flame shot out. At this moment, everyone in the yard was shocked. Refining fire. It's the refining fire. He actually has a refining fire? Everyone was emotionally moved, and they were all shocked. The refining fire was a flame created by refining. It was a fire formed from the accumulation of countless years of experience and accumulation of countless years. Other than that, more importantly, he needed talent, an incomparably powerful talent. Even if you could cultivate the refining fire, being unable to control, it would only be a waste of your time. It was very obvious that not only was Hizun able to cultivate refining fire, he was also able to control it perfectly. In the entire Xian Wu Pavilion, other than the Grand Court, not a single artificer had managed to cultivate the refining fire. This difference, it was obvious at a glance. Yi Qing Shan's gaze tensed up. Wu Tianlong didn't use any refining fire, but he knew the shocked expressions of those artificers from Xian Wu Pavilion. The corner of his mouth hooked up into a smile. At the same time, Wu Tianlong said to Wu Zhong, who was beside him, Uncle Zhong, bring some people over and bring out the trash from those East Imperial Cities. Wu Zhong quietly withdrew himself. Boom! Boom! Hizun's refining fire roared as it fused into the flames. The material quality of the failed immortal weapon inscription symbol had undergone a qualitative change. This was the power of the refining fire. It can help you perfect to the best of your abilities and maximize your strength. Seeing this scene, Yin Kong's face turned even uglier because that was the weapon that he failed to refine, and now that he had succeeded, it was as if he had been slapped in his face. It was very hard. Similarly, the pressure on Yi Qing Shan was immense. He looked at the immortal weapon that Guoyin had just failed to refine and didn't know how to attack him. He could only stand there in a daze. There was nothing to be done. His heart felt very uncomfortable. Buzz! With a crisp sound, Hizun withdrew his aura. Boom! The robe fell off and the fire extinguished. A red immortal weapon was quietly laid on the furnace top. Hizun laughed. If it wasn't for the fact that the person who started the refining didn't start refining, this immortal weapon could have leveled up by 3 levels. Another slap landed on Yin Kong's face. He had cultivated refining for his entire life, But who would have thought that he would be ruthlessly slapped a few times by this old man? Hizun coldly glanced at Yin Kong, and then said while looking at Yi Qing Shan, "It's your turn." Chapter 2970, Whose Territory Is This? Chapter 2970, Whose Territory Is This? When Hizun took out the refining fire, Yi Qing Shan already knew that he did not even have a tenth of Hizun's ability. The entire Xianwu Pavilion was completely crushed by Hizun alone. This was just like a martial arts competition, an existence whose cultivation was too strong to be surpassed. Everyone looked at the crimson, immortal weapon on the furnace. They couldn't possibly compare to it in terms of level. "Let's compete. Let's begin," Wu Tianlong clamored. Yi Qing Shan, "Didn't you want to compete?" "To refine it personally. Are you an idiot?" Yi Qing Shan's face alternated between green and purple. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth, unable to say a word. Wu Tianlong laughed coldly and said, "Xianwu Pavilion? Ha ha! And for immortal martial arts, change your name to Discarded Martial Pavilion from now on. Ha ha ha." Yi Qing Shan said solemnly, "Wu Tianlong, you're too presumptuous." Wu Tianlong said, "Apologies, this young master is being impudent. What can you do? Unhappy? Then let's compete. Let's fight." "He's so scared that he can't move?" Yi Qing Shan, "We have already produced a work of art. If your Xianwu Pavilion is unable to refine it, we will have one. This discarded martial pavilion belongs to my Wu clan." Wu Tianlong laughed complacently and said coldly, "Since you guys provoked this young master last time, you all should have already thought of today's result." As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Tianlong's voice was sinister and said, "Hurry up and refine them. If you can't, then get out of here." Yi Qing Shan was speechless. Not only that, all the artificers in the Xianwu Pavilion were speechless. "Ha ha! Looks like no one can refine it." Wu Tianlong laughed loudly and said with a heavy voice, "From today onwards, this Xianwu Pavilion will belong to my Wu family. From today onwards, Xianwu Pavilion will change his name to Discarded Martial Pavilion." Ha! At this moment. Wait. Everyone looked behind Wu Tianlong. Wu Tianlong also turned around, and at this moment, both his eyes immediately sank. His groin was in pain, and his body couldn't help but secretly tremble. The ones who were standing at the door were none other than Long Fei and the rest of the five. Returning from the God's Devil City, Long Fei did not immediately go to see Su Su and the others. He wanted to report to the Xianwu Pavilion first, since he was the only one who survived and returned from so many people. However, he didn't expect to see this scene in the courtyard. Long Fei's mind tightened, and upon seeing Wu Tianlong's face, he immediately understood what was going on. When Yi Qing Shan saw Long Fei, he immediately rushed forward and asked, "Brother Long, where is Grand Court?" Everyone fell silent. Even Hizun looked towards Long Fei. If Xianwu Pavilion did not die, then he had no chance of winning. Long Fei revealed an astonished expression and said, "Didn't Grand Court come back? You should be one step ahead of me, right? Don't you know?" As soon as he finished, Hizun's heart trembled slightly. Wu Tianlong's gaze also suddenly tensed up. Yi Qing Shan became excited and asked, "Grand Court isn't dead?" Long Fei said, "Of course I'm not dead. How could such an awesome person like Grand Court be dead?" He was secretly shocked. The news spread really quickly. It's obvious that I am the only one who is alive, but the news has already reached the fairy city. Seems like Wu Tianlong, this piece of trash, came prepared. The hearts of everyone in the Xianwu Pavilion relaxed, as if they had been relieved from a burden. Yi Qing Shan immediately said, "I will go and invite Grand Court out." "Hizun, didn't you want to compete?" "Wu Tianlong, even your Wu family wants to annex my Xianwu Pavilion? Come, when the Grand Court comes, one of you will take his life." He let out a heavy breath. Hizun's expression secretly changed. He looked at Wu Tianlong and said with sound transmission, "Young master, if Grand Court is really here, I'm afraid this time." He was afraid. He was a refiner and represented the Wu clan. What Wu Ba guaranteed him was that the Grand Court was already dead, and what she promised him was that she would give half of her benefits to him by annexing the Xianwu Pavilion. That was why he agreed. But if the challenge failed, then his life, it will be here. This was the rule. Thus, he was somewhat afraid. However, Wu Tianlong was not afraid. It was not easy to get this opportunity. He would definitely not give up so easily, and said solemnly, "My father said it. Grand Court is already dead. You don't have to worry." And then, Wu Tianlong sneered. "I'll see how you could get Grand Court out." Yi Qingshan immediately said, "Then you just wait here for me." As he said that, he went to Grand Court's courtyard. At this time, Long Fei took a step forward and said, "Elder Yi, it's better if I go. Traveling with Grand Court for half a month this time will be of great help to my cultivation. I still have a question to ask. I'll go ask him." Yi Qingshan looked at Long Fei, puzzled. At this moment, Wu Tianlong said heavily, "You dog, you want to take this opportunity to escape? Do you think I'll give you a chance?" Chu Qing said, "Big brother Long Fei, is he scolding you?" When Wu Tianlong saw Chu Qing, he was extremely shocked and excited. "Wow, another fairy-like woman. I want this woman." Not waiting for him to finish. Buzz. The sword hummed. Swoosh, swoosh. The two sword flowers fell. Ah! Ah! Both of Wu Tianlong's lips were cut off, blood gushing everywhere as he clenched his fists in pain, unable to say a single word. Qin Shuang said coldly, "Since your mouth is that dirty, don't speak anymore. If you dare say another word, I will cut off your tongue." Immediately, the lackey Luo, who was next to Wu Tianlong, quickly rushed up and bellowed, "You dare to injure young Master Wu today, you will all die. Why don't you see whose territory this is? You guys are done for." Luo Yuan shouted. Wu Tianlong endured the pain and said heavily, "What nonsense are you spouting? Go and kill me." Just then, Wu Bin walked out and said lightly, "Young Master Wu is nothing. This is your territory? I really can't accept it." While they were talking, Wu Bin took out an order badge and looked at the people around him. He stared at Wu Tianlong and asked, "Whose territory is this?" Everyone looked over. In that instant, the faces of those small fries immediately turned pale, their legs trembled. They were so scared that they directly knelt on the ground. Wu Tianlong was also trembling on the inside. His eyes darkened as he muttered, "Immortal Karma, Fatri sect disciple." The Wu family also had disciples of the Fatri sect, so he was very familiar with the medallions of the disciples of the Fatri sect. Zhang Xian's face darkened. Yizun's expression also tensed up. It was said that there was a relationship between the Xianwu Pavilion and the Emperor, and it looked like it was true. Wu Tianlong immediately said, "It's her Fatri sect. I am very sorry for the bow just now. However, this is a matter between the Wu family and Xianwu Pavilion. Fatri sect can't intervene, right? If we can't win today's refining competition." The corner of Wu Tianlong's eyes twitched. He stared at Long Fei and said, "Xianwu Pavilion is mine." At that time, I want to dismember all of Xianwu Pavilion's people. Chapter 2971, Direct Kneeling. Chapter 2971, Direct Kneeling. Wu Tianlong was very arrogant. It was because of the pain in his crotch, and it was also because of the torment from not being able to get into the body for the past half month. Even more so because of the Wu clan's strength. A disciple of the Fatri sect? There were people like him in the Wu family as well. And he believed that for someone like Long Fei, who came from the East Imperial City, even if they were lucky enough to get together with a disciple from the Fatri sect, they would at most do nothing. His words made Qin Shuang and the others unhappy. So arrogant, Qin Shuang was very unhappy and wanted to attack, but he was stopped by Long Fei. Long Fei said, "I'll take care of my own matters." Then, Long Fei looked at Yi Qingshan and said, "Elder Yi, come with me to invite Grand Court." Suddenly, Yi Qingshan was startled, but immediately agreed. He wanted to know what Long Fei was doing. Wu Tianlong coldly snorted and said, "Let's see how you will bring out the people from the underworld." He was very calm. Yizun's mood went up and down, and he was a little uneasy. Long Fei and Yi Qingshan left and walked into the courtyard of the Grand Court. Yi Qingshan could no longer suppress the curiosity in his heart and said, "Brother Long, tell me the truth. How is Grand Court?" "Humph." Long Fei let out a light breath and said, "Grand Court might really be dead." "What?" Yi Qingshan's eyes darkened and his body trembled slightly. When Long Fei and Grand Court went out together, perhaps only Long Fei knew the truth. But now that Long Fei had said such a thing, it meant that Grand Court was truly dead. Previously, he didn't believe it, but now, it was like a bolt out of the blue. How could this be? How could this be? Grand Court's martial arts training is also very strong. Yi Qingshan's gaze was a little unfocused and somewhat desperate. If the Grand Court was not here, then the Xianwu Pavilion would definitely not be able to protect him. Long Fei said, "Tell me what happened outside first. I'll see if I can help you guys." "Help? How? Do you know how to forge artifacts? Do you know anything about artifact forging? You only know how to forge equipment. How can you be better than Hizun?" Yi Qingshan laughed bitterly. "It's useless. The Xianwu Pavilion is hopeless." Long Fei was an ordinary warrior from the East Imperial City. His heart was filled with the dream of entering the Fatri sect, but to the people of East Imperial City, this was just a dream. How could such a person understand refining? Long Fei slightly said, "It's just a refining competition, right? Refining. Refining." Long Fei opened up the system to check the refining techniques. His heart tensed up. It's still level 1. It's impossible to refine an immortal weapon. Yi Qingshan exhaled a long breath and said, "Brother Long, your friend is still in the courtyard over there. Take advantage of Wu Tianlong's presence and quickly leave. The further the better. Don't ever come back, and don't dream of entering the Fatri sect, because that's impossible." While they were talking, Yi Qingshan carried his disappointment and was about to leave the small courtyard. He grew up in the Xianwu Pavilion, and this place was his home. Even if he died, he would die here. He had already given up all hope. As Yi Qingshan walked out of the courtyard, his mind was still thinking about how to refine an immortal weapon. Are there any scrolls that can instantly raise the refining techniques? The merchant shop. He couldn't find it. Black and white. I want to save Xianwu Pavilion. Do you have a way to help me increase my refining realm? Similarly, monochrome did not respond either. Ancient alchemy. Long Fei thought about this, but, as expected, if he were to use the ancient alchemy, the god's tribe S and curse mark on his body would appear. This was not the East Imperial City. The people of East Imperial City did not know what the god tribe S were. But there must be a lot of people here who know, and in front of so many people. The risk was too great. Moreover, even if Long Fei were to use the ancient alchemy, he might not even be able to refine an immortal weapon that was even stronger than Hizun. After all, his refining techniques was stuck at Zhenwu continent. Universal Realm had never studied the refining techniques before. That won't do either. What should I do? Xinchalong's sword, do you have a way? Long Fei asked, then laughed bitterly. You are only a sword. How do you know what to do? Can the 18 archaic demons of the seal be done? Their weapons are all in the arm guard, so even if they can refine immortal weapons, how are they to let them out and refine them? I guess I'm going crazy? Long Fei laughed bitterly. He wanted to help Xianwu Pavilion. Xianwu Pavilion had saved him before. If not for the Xianwu Pavilion, he would not have obtained the Xinchalong sword, nor would he have obtained the big Master Guard arm, much less No Chu Qing and the others. Now that he was dead, Long Fei would definitely not let the Xianwu Pavilion just disappear like that. He had to protect this place. At this time, the Xinchalong sword suddenly said, Master, last time in the Seal Valley, you represented the Xianwu Pavilion, so this time you can as well. Suddenly, Long Fei had a flash of inspiration. That's right, no one has ever seen Grand Court's appearance before. If I can put on my mask, who can prove that I'm not Grand Court? As long as the Grand Court appeared, everyone would be shocked. Wu Tianlong would definitely be shocked. If not, Long Fei's heart tightened and subconsciously touched the god's tribe's curse mark that was hidden in his chest. Since Grand Court is dead, I can't ignore him. And then, Long Fei changed into the clothes and mask that he had worn last time to represent Grand Court. Following that, from afar, he heard someone shouting, "The Grand Court is here." He leisurely walked out. Yi Qingshan had already walked to refining platform. "Humph you, your Grand Court won't be able to come out, right?" "Ha ha, I knew it. How could a dead man come out?" Wu Tianlong laughed proudly. He was determined to win this competition. Hizun secretly heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Just when they were feeling proud, a voice came from afar. "Grand Court is here." Hizun's heart sank, and he became unsteady on his feet. Wu Tianlong's pupils also secretly tightened. Impossible. Joy filled the faces of all the elders in the entire Xian Wu pavilion. Only Yi Qingshan's gaze carried despair. Long Fei walked into the backyard. Everyone looked over. "Grand Court. It's really the Grand Court." "Ha ha. Hizun, let's see how you can continue being so arrogant." I knew that nothing would happen to Grand Court. The elders of the Xian Wu pavilion all started to clamor in excitement. Hizun's face turned sinister as he looked at him. However, Wu Tianlong laughed coldly and said, "If you wear a mask, these clothes will be the Grand Court? Then Laozi is still your ancestor." It's not a competition of appearance. It's a competition of weapon crafting. He was also secretly nervous in his heart. If something were to happen to Hizun, his father would definitely not spare him. He could only continue to gamble. Long Fei walked to the front of the refining platform and stared at the 2 pages as he said, "Forging, right? Then today I will let you know what refining is." Her voice was gloomy. It was hard to tell that it was said by a young man in his early 20s. Yi Qingshan was also puzzled. At this moment, Long Fei decided to take the risk, and with a thought, he shouted, "Ancient alchemy." He had to help. Just as he was about to use the ancient alchemy, he felt a scorching pain in his chest. Buzz! The 7-colored refining fire suddenly rushed out from the god's design token. It was exceptionally strong and dazzling, and everyone was captivated by the 7-colored refining fire. At this moment, plop! Hizun immediately knelt down. Chapter 2972, Dead Dog. Chapter 2972, Dead Dog Plop. With a crisp sound, the kneecap was about to kneel down and shatter into pieces. Tighter. Bam! This time, a piece of limestone on the ground shattered. Grand Court, I was wrong. I take back my challenge. I withdraw my challenge. Hizun pleaded for mercy. Many people did not move, but all the artificers in the Xian Wu pavilion knew that the refining fire that Long Fei released was of a high level, as high as a few floors. An existence that could crush Hizun 100 times over. Actually, there was no one who understood the refining fire more than Hizun. Cultivating the refining fire required countless of years of accumulation, as well as an incomparably strong talent in artifact forging. The rainbow flame was a level he had never seen before. He wasn't a match at all. If Long Fei refined an immortal weapon, then he would lose for sure. The consequences of failing in a challenge was to keep his life. He didn't want to die. Therefore, when Hizun saw the 7-colored flame, he instantly begged for forgiveness. Yi Qingshan, who was standing beside Long Fei, tensed up. Seeing the 7-colored fire, he froze. His mouth opened wide, as if he was about to put an egg inside it to look at the Grand Court, who was wearing a mask. The people from the Xian Wu pavilion all vented out their resentment. Hizun, aren't you being arrogant? What's your refining techniques? Not even a fart in front of us, Grand Court. You want to annex our Xian Wu pavilion? Umph! All of them were enraged. Wu Tianlong did not make a move as he looked at Hizun, who was kneeling on the ground, with contempt in his heart. However, he did not dare to easily offend him and said, "Elder He, the challenge of artifact forging is not over yet. It's not like we've lost." Hizun shouted angrily, "Shut up." Wu Tianlong trembled slightly. His eyes had a look of displeasure. Hizun said, "If I want to challenge, you go challenge. I will not challenge again. I will not court death." And then, Hizun continued to beg for forgiveness. "Grand Court, I was blind. That's why I came here to challenge you. I was wrong. Please give me a chance. I will immediately leave the Wu family, leave the fairy city, I beg you, please give me a way out. If he failed the challenge, then he would have to pay the price. Hizun did not want to die. Long Fei retracted his breath. Hizun's sudden kowtow surprised him, and he was shocked at his heart. God's design addict's refining fire is truly impressive. The moment it was summoned, it terrified Hizun. Long Fei said in a gloomy voice, "You know your wrongs? Just because you said that you know you're wrong. That's all. How could there be such a good thing in the world?" Hizun's gaze tightened, and his body trembled faintly as he said, "Grand Court, as long as you are willing to spare my life, I'll do whatever you want me to do." Long Fei rolled his eyes slightly. Refining fire. Air. Hizun's gaze darkened as he said, This, Grand Court, this is a refining fire that I had to use an entire 50 years to cultivate. You either leave your life behind. Either hand over the refining fire." Long Fei said coldly. At the same time, the seven-colored fire surged again, and the Xinshalong sword's sword chime shook. Buzz. The yard was filled with powerful sword intent. His mind shook, and his sea of consciousness began to stir. Not only was Grand Court's refining realm extremely high, his cultivation was also unfathomably deep. Hizun's cultivation was merely in the royal realm, and was simply not his opponent. Hizun gritted his teeth. In front of his life and refining fire, he still chose the former. The idea moved, and its body trembled. A series of rumbling sounds echoed within his body. Then, Hizun spat out a mouthful of fresh blood as a refining fire with fresh blood on the palm of his right hand slowly floated into the air. Refining fire was the life of a refiner. If he were to pull it out of his body, it could be said that he would never be able to forge a weapon in his entire life. However, compared to his life, the refining fire was not that important. Long Fei's eyes moved slightly and said, "Yi Qing Shan, bring it over." Yi Qing Shan trembled, but he still couldn't react in the slightest. He walked up to the refining fire in a stiff and wooden manner and carefully received it. Refining fire was the dream of every artificer. Long Fei said indifferently, "I'll reward you with this." Yi Qing Shan's gaze tensed up and was extremely surprised. Looking at Long Fei, he did not know what to say in his heart. The elders of the Xianwu Pavilion also had faces of shock, especially Yin Kong and Guiyin. The two of them have the oldest qualifications, but the Grand Court didn't even glance at them and directly gifted the refining fire to Yi Qing Shan. Envy and jealousy filled their eyes. Hizun said solemnly, "Thank you, Grand Court, for not killing me." And then Hizun turned and left. Wu Tianlong was a little stupefied when he saw Hizun's series of operations. Elder he. As he spoke, he was about to follow her out. However, Long Fei said coldly, "Did I let you go?" Wu Bin and Zheng Yuanhang stepped forward and stopped Wu Tianlong. "Did you hear that? I didn't ask you to leave yet." Wu Tianlong's eyes turned sinister. "Get out of the way. The disciples of Fatri sect are amazing. My two uncles are also in Fatri sect, and they're even in charge of everything. If you don't want to cause trouble, then scram to the side." The two listened in annoyance. Wu Bin was even more infuriated by Zhang Xian's actions, and he immediately sent a kick towards Zhang Xian. Bam! What cultivation did Wu Tianlong have? It was just the soul realm, and he had been sent flying 5 to 6 meters by the royal realm's kick, his entire body directly kneeling on the ground. His abdomen was in great pain as he screamed miserably, "It hurts! I'm going to die! Kill them! Kill them all!" The minions beside him quickly dashed towards Wu Bin. All of them looked like fiends. However, Wu Bin said coldly, "Whoever comes up will die." Just one sentence was enough to scare them away, so much so that they didn't dare make a move on him. Wu Tianlong painfully crawled up from the ground and said, You, I will definitely kill you." Wu Bin suddenly flickered. Bam! Another kick landed on Wu Tianlong's mouth, causing him to immediately spurt out blood. "A trash like you want to kill us?" Wu Tianlong smashed onto the ground heavily. It was incomparably painful, but he couldn't resist at all. Long Fei asked coldly. How did you know about the news of Grand Court's death? Wu Tianlong's face was pale white. He stared at Long Fei and laughed sinisterly. Your voice is... Ha! You aren't Grand Court at all. You are the cripple from East Imperial City. Before he could say the word thing, Wu Bin turned around and kicked again. Bam! Wu Tianlong flew up again and let out a roar like a pig being butchered. Wu Bin said coldly, If you say another word, I will make your mouth grow to the back of your head. Boom! It fell down like a dead dog. Chapter 2973, A Real Devil Sect. Chapter 2973, A Real Devil Sect. Boom! He fell from the sky, causing the ground to shake. This time, Wu Tianlong didn't even have time to scream and directly fainted. Just at this time, Wu Zhong ran into the courtyard covered in dust. Seeing that Wu Tianlong had fainted, the anger in his heart surged. But his heart once again tensed up when he saw the people in the courtyard. Let's go, Wu Zhong said in a heavy voice. Long Fei asked coldly, Go? Did I let you go? He wanted to know why the Wu family was so sure that the Grand Court was dead. Other than the only ones who knew about this, there was another power that knew about it. That was the Devil Sect. Could it be that the Wu family had someone from the Devil Sect? If that was the case, then the Wu clan would be in big trouble. Wu Zhong's eyes turned sinister as he said coldly, Grand Court, this time it's our Wu family that has fallen, but you must understand our Wu family's power in Fairy City. You have people in the Fatry sect, and the Wu family has people as well. If you want to die, it is unknown who will live and who will die. Wu Zhong said fiercely. Qin Shuang said coldly, So arrogant? Wu Zhong coldly glanced at Qin Shuang and said, If you have the strength, then it's not called arrogant. Qin Shuang's mouth hooked up and said, Strength? This is really awesome. He was annoyed. Qin Shuang was going to attack. However, Long Fei's eyes moved and said, Just tell me, how did your Wu family find out about the news of Grand Court's death? Wu Zhong sneered. What should I say? Long Fei said, If you don't want to say it, then stay here. Wu Zhong's eyes turned sinister and said solemnly, You dare? Long Fei said, There is nothing in this world that I do not dare to do. Yi Qingshan and the Xian Wu Pavilion's refiners were slightly startled. They could not understand Long Fei. The previous Grand Court would definitely not do such a thing. Moreover, compared to the Wu family, the Xian Wu Pavilion was still lacking a lot in strength. Furthermore, the Xian Wu Pavilion was an artificer, so their martial arts training was not strong. The Wu clan was different. He was from the martial arts training family. If it was a competition of force, the Xian Wu Pavilion had no chance of winning at all, and the Wu family wanted the patriarch of the Emperor Strongman, Wu Ba. Wu Zhong stared deadly at Long Fei. Suddenly, the aura on Wu Zhong's body suddenly surged. Boom! The power of the Emperor Peak realm came crashing out. Its fighting strength was overpowering. Qin Shuang's gaze tensed up. At this time, everyone was in a fight for Wu Zhong, but he suddenly grabbed the unconscious Wu Tianlong's clothes and flicked his body. Boom! He jumped straight into the air. This is bad. He's trying to escape. Qin Shuang's voice sunk. Long Fei moved, escape. The Zhenshilong sword instantly flew out. Boom! A shadow flashed in the sky as a sword pierced through his thigh. The true spirit on his body became chaotic as he fell from the sky. However, Wu Zhong struck his palm onto Wu Tianlong's back and shouted, Sky Dragon, let's go. It was also at this time. A small rocket flew out and exploded in the sky. Boom! At the Wu residence, Wu Ba revealed a faint smile and said, Then my son will depend more on you too for this year's assessment. Two of the Fatry sect's stewards faintly smiled. Looking at the two silver, shining divine treasures on the table, he revealed a satisfied smile and said, Patriarch Wu, don't worry. Junior brother Wu Wei had already said this in the Fatry sect. We will definitely think of a way to let the two young masters of the Wu family enter the Fatry sect in their higher ranks. Not to mention that the Wu family's warriors have great innate talent. Entering the Fatry sect is a very easy and simple matter. Ha! The three of them laughed at the same time. At this moment, the sky shook slightly. A disciple ran in anxiously and said, "Reporting to Patriarch, there's a distress signal from the direction of Sien Wu Pavilion." Wu Ba frowned. "Something has happened." Two of the factory sect stewards said, "Brother Wu, do you need any help?" Wu Ba said, "No need to trouble the two masters. I, Wu, can solve such a small problem. Someone come. Sending you off, my lords." Wu Ba was very calm and did not panic because he had to appear calm and collected in front of the people from the factory sect. The calmer he was, the more he would reveal the true abilities of the Wu family. The two stewards sent him out. Wu Ba's face sank and immediately asked, "What happened?" Disciple doesn't know. Maybe something happened to young master. Wu Ba's eyes darkened. "Useless trash. You couldn't even do anything. I really don't know how the Wu family could produce such a useless trash like you." He hated not being able to meet his expectations. However, Wu Ba quickly reacted and said, "Go call Wuing out and control those trash from East Imperial City. Since Sien Wu Pavilion wants to protect them, then they have a certain amount of value." "Yes, sir." And then Wu Ba exhaled deeply and looked into the distance. With a single step, he walked out of the hall. In that instant, roar! An extremely fierce beast rushed out of thin air and dragged Wu Ba into the air. He disappeared into the sky almost instantaneously. Sien Wu Pavilion. Long Fei never thought that on the verge of life and death, Wu Zhong would not go and defend against the Zhenchulong sword, but instead used his final strength to send Wu Tianlong flying. This greatly surprised him. However, Long Fei was not worried. Looking at Wu Zhong, who was on the ground, Long Fei said, "You are really tenacious." Wu Zhong sneered, "Brat, you're about to die, yet you don't know." Long Fei replied, "You're already like this, and you're still saying that I'm going to die. Don't you think that's funny? And you think you can send that trash, Wu Tianlong, away? You think he can escape? In your dreams." Long Fei moved his idea. In the sky, the Zhenchulong sword stabbed into Wu Tianlong's bones and flew into the air. Wu Zhong's pupils suddenly contracted, and he roared loudly, "Brat, you dare to hurt him, you will definitely die a miserable death." Long Fei said, "A lot of people have told me these words before. It's just that the people who said them are already dead, and I'm still living quite well." Bam! The Zhenchulong sword slightly moved. Wu Tianlong fell from the sky. Long Fei stepped right on top of Wu Tianlong's head, looked at him, and said, "Can you tell me how you found out?" Wu Zhong's eyes were full of hatred. Long Fei was not anxious at all. "Seems like you don't want to say it." Buzz! The Zhenchulong's sword moved and directly floated between Wu Tianlong's eyebrows. Long Fei moved. The Zhenchulong sword suddenly flew up and then heavily stabbed downward between Wu Tianlong's eyebrows. Wu Zhong's eyes were wide open as he said anxiously, I'll say." Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "Is that right?" Sweat rolled down Wu Zhong's forehead as his breathing quickened, and he said, "It's Devil's Sect, a message from Devil's Sect." As soon as he finished, Qin Shuang and the rest tensed up. Long Fei's lips curved up. "Damn, it really is Devil's Sect." Chapter 2974. Do you want to exterminate your sect? Chapter 2974. Do you want to exterminate your sect? Actually, Long Fei only wanted to know one reason behind the news: killing Devil's Sect to level up. One level 2. The leveling up in the Seal Valley that night was simply too great. It was as though he had eaten a meal of dazzling spring. It was so pleasurable that he could not stop. Then again, if the Wu family was related to the Devil's Sect, then they could do whatever they wanted. "All right, I've already said it out loud. Can you let us go now?" Wu Zhong said solemnly. The news that came from the Devil's Sect must not be spread out. All these people are going to die. However, he had to go back to the Wu family now. He had to go back. Long Fei smiled. "What do you think?" Wu Zhong's eyes became tight and said, "You don't mean what you say. What do you want to do?" "Nothing. Just trying to make you experience." Long Fei's lips curled up. His killing intent moved. His goal had been achieved, so he could gather experience now. Long Fei never thought of letting Wu Zhong and Wu Tianlong go. Yi Qingshan immediately took a step forward, grabbed Long Fei's hand, and gently shook his head. We cannot kill him. Yin Kong and Guoyan also walked up and said, Grand Court, you can't kill them. We can't afford to offend the Wu family. The Wu family was very powerful. The Xianwu Pavilion was only a small place that sold weapons. Once the Wu family was killed, the Xianwu Pavilion would no longer be able to stand firm in the fairy city. However, they don't understand. Even if they did not kill him, the Wu family would not let Xianwu Pavilion off the hook. Today's challenge speaks for itself. Just as Long Fei was about to say these, he suddenly shouted, Roar! Everyone raised their heads. Wu Ba's mount, a mountain demon beast of the 8th level. Wu Ba is here, Emperor Strongman, patriarch of the Wu family. Roar! With another roar, the gigantic demonic beast swooped down. Wu Ba, who was on its back, stared at the courtyard and frowned when he saw the half-dead Wu Tianlong on the ground. Wu Tianlong didn't know how to play anymore, how to become a popinjay, how to stir up trouble everywhere. However, he was a member of the Wu family, all his sons. Seeing his own son being abused like this, Wu Ba's anger surged. Rumble. A series of crushing blows. The might of the Emperor Palace gushed forth like a tidal wave. Pucci, Pucci, Pucci. A few of Xianwu Pavilion's servants and warriors who had low cultivation instantly knelt on the ground, blood continuously spraying out from their mouths. Those elders also had pale faces, and their bodies were unshakable, feeling extremely uncomfortable. Moreover, as Wu Ba got closer and closer to them, the pressure on them became heavier and heavier. Uff! One of the elders fell to the ground, bleeding from his 7 orifices. Plop! Another elder fell down, while the other waiters' heads exploded one after another. Their consciousness couldn't withstand such a strong impact. Long Fei was also in great pain. Chu Qing was having a hard time. Long Fei was in a bad mood. Fuck. The attack that Laozi hates the most is coercion. He waved his right hand, and the soul-breaking whip appeared in his grasp. His true soul surged. The spirit-breaking whip continued to lash out. Pa pa pa. Boundless red light flashed. The might of the Emperor realm in the sky shattered one by one as it was completely destroyed by the power of the god-slaying whip. The expressions of everyone in the courtyard slightly improved. Break my pressure? Humph! Wu Ba let out a heavy snort and did not continue to release any more pressure. His entire body transformed into a ball of black shadows and landed heavily. Bang, bang, bang. The power of the divine striking whip was shattered by his single punch. Long Fei was so shocked that he almost fell off. His arm went numb. However, Long Fei reacted quickly and landed beside Wu Tianlong, lifting him up. Buzz! Wu Ba's eyes were fixed on Long Fei, and at the moment he did not know who the person under the mask was, so he thought it was Grand Court. Wu Ba was secretly shocked. Could it be that the news is fake? That's impossible. This was not the time to be thinking about all these. Wu Ba said lightly, Grand Court, my son is being reckless today. He was only challenging your pavilion as a child playing around. Don't take him seriously. Now that you've already fought, he should be let go, right? Easily stated. However, there was a trace of anger in his words. Wu Zhong immediately said, Big brother, Sky Dragon is about to die. Wu Ba's gaze tensed up, and he said, Grand Court, release my son, and in the future, the Wu family and Xianwu Pavilion will not cause trouble. Yi Qingshan also said, Grand Court, let young Master Wu go. While they were talking, Yi Qingshan continuously shot Long Fei meaningful glances, telling him not to be impulsive and not to be impulsive. Xianwu Pavilion could not afford to offend the Wu family. The Wu family already had 2 disciples in the Fatri sect, and this year's assessment of the Wu family was even more determined. Once there were any more disciples entering the Fatri sect, the Wu family's power would be even greater. Blood dripped from Wu Tianlong's mouth. He was incredibly weak as he said darkly, You, this trash, cannot kill me, huh? Wu Ba shouted, Shut up. Then, Wu Ba looked at Long Fei. With a flip of his right hand, a top-grade immortal weapon appeared. He said, I know that Grand Court likes swords, so I will treat this as me replacing my son to apologize. Yin Kong also said solemnly, Grand Court, since even Patriarch Wu is acting this way, then let's just forget about it. Guiyin said, a lot of enemies do not equal a lot of friends. There must have been a misunderstanding in the past. Patriarch Wu has already made a promise. Forget it. None of the blacksmiths here wanted to offend the Wu clan. It was because they were well aware of the Wu clan's influence. The people from the Xian Wu Pavilion were advising Long Fei. However, Chu Qing and the others were very calm. There was not even the slightest bit of fear in their eyes. Long Fei slightly said, what if I don't release him? Wu Ba's gaze tensed up, and the aura around his body suddenly changed. He said indifferently, Grand Court, you better release him, otherwise I'm sure that Fairy City will not be able to visit this place again within 3 days. Long Fei felt unwell in his heart. The meat that reached his mouth was gone just like that. However, despite being in a bad mood, Grand Court was already dead. Xian Wu Pavilion was his hard work and effort. Long Fei could not destroy it. Huff! Long Fei's heart loosened, his hand moved, and Wu Tianlong tumbled to the ground, then said indifferently, Patriarch Wu, I will release him, but please remember what you have said. In addition, I have to remind you, don't provoke me anymore. Otherwise, I can make your Wu clan disappear from this world in less than a day. I'll do it. Competing ruthlessly, Long Fei is fiercer than anyone else. Wu Ba's eyes slightly narrowed as he looked seriously into Long Fei's eyes. Then he slowly propped Wu Tianlong up and coldly said, let's go. Wu Zhong and the small fries quickly withdrew themselves from the courtyard. Yi Qing Shan and the equipment forgers from the Immortal Destiny Pavilion let out a heavy sigh, as if they had received an amnesty. Yi Qing Shan especially said while looking at Long Fei, thank you, Grand Court. The Wu clan is too strong. If we fight, we have no chance of winning. Not waiting for him to finish. At the entrance of the courtyard, a person whose entire body was covered in blood crawled in. Long Fei's expression tensed up and immediately recognized him. Canon, Tandapeo endured the pain and said, Boss, Su Su and Lan Mei were taken away. In that instant, Long Fei's killing intent erupted like a volcano. Wu family, you King want to exterminate your sect. Chapter 2975, Killing Intent Filled the Sky. Chapter 2975, Killing Intent Filled the Sky. They had just said that they would not interfere with the river, yet they started attacking. The flames of anger in Long Fei's heart immediately billowed. He could not resist it at all. Actually, when they started again, Wu Zhong had already made his move, but it was just that. He did not know that Tandapeo and the others were a little too strong for him to handle. The failure ended. However, the second time, the strength of the people who came was completely different. Tandapeo didn't manage to defend at all. Boss, I'm sorry. It's all because I was useless and couldn't protect sister-in-law. Tandapeo blamed himself in his heart. Boss, Yin Kong could hear something amiss in his tone. Guiyin couldn't help but ask, Grand Court, you're his boss? They did not remember Long Fei's voice, but Tandapeo knew it very clearly, and the only one who called him Canon was Long Fei. Yi Qing Shan looked at Long Fei with narrowed eyes. Long Fei took off his mask. Everyone's gaze tensed up. You, aren't you the brat from East Imperial City? You dare to pretend to be Grand Court. You have guts. Men, take him down. Yin Kong replied heavily. Immediately, several heavy disciples surrounded Long Fei. Yi Qing Shan followed with a heavy shout. Wait, Qin Shuang said coldly. Let's see who dares to touch him. Instantly, Zheng Yuanheng also stood beside Long Fei and protected him with his guards. Yin Kong's eyes darkened and said, I was wondering why Grand Court was acting so weird today, so it turns out you're pretending. Kid, what exactly are you planning? Long Fei did not have the time to bother with him. He was currently filled with rage as he stared at the two disciples blocking his way and shouted, Scram, Guayin said in a heavy voice. Don't let him leave. If you don't explain everything clearly, then don't even think about leaving. Where did Grand Court go? Anger. It was burning. Yi Qing-shan said straightforwardly. I was the one who let him pretend to be the Grand Court. If not for him, would you guys still be alive here? You can still shout and drink like that? He was the one who saved us, the Xian Wu Pavilion. Everyone shivered. Chu Qing said indifferently. If it were not for him, you all would have died long ago. If not for him, do you think your Wu family would even be able to win against you all in smithing? Is your martial arts more powerful than the Wu family? Don't you know shame? Yin Kong and Guayan's faces burned. Yin Kong said, I do need to thank him for saving our Xian Wu Pavilion, but he almost brought Xian Wu Pavilion into the abyss as well. If not for us persuading him to go to war with the Wu family, we would have still died. And, Brat, I don't care what your goal is, and I don't care what enmity you have with the Wu family. From now on, you have nothing to do with our Xian Wu Pavilion. Now, I order you get out of here. Obviously, Yin Kong did not want to offend the Wu family. At this time, had better cut through their relationship quickly, so as to not drag Xian Wu Pavilion down with him when the time comes. Guiyan also agreed. Elder Yin is right. Please leave now. Get out. Brat, did you hear that? I told you to get the hell out of here. Are you deaf? If you stay here, you will only harm our Xian Wu Pavilion. Scram. Many elders of Xian Wu Pavilion all shouted in anger. Qin Shuang's face was extremely ugly. According to his temper, he would have already attacked. Chu Qing was also very unhappy. Wu Bin immediately said, Brother Long, should we teach them a lesson? This bunch of cowards don't know how to save. Long Fei was very angry in his heart. However, right now, he did not have the time to care about Xian Wu Pavilion. Since the danger to Xian Wu Pavilion had already been resolved, there was no need for him to stay here any longer. The only thing that caused him to linger in Xian Wu Pavilion was the sword of War God in the secret room. However, there was no need to rush with the sword. Long Fei turned around and said coldly, I'll be back. Finished. Long Fei supported Tandapeo as he walked out. Qin Shuang and the others withdrew their swords and followed Long Fei out. Yi Qing-shan wanted to stop him, but he knew that it was impossible for him to stop him alone, but he still ran out. Brother Long, please don't go to the Wu clan. The Wu family is now a trap. If you go, you will just be courting death. Don't go. Yi Qing-shan started to worry. However, Long Fei did not pay attention to him, nor did he look back. Not going to the Wu clan? If he did not overturn the Wu family's 18 generations of ancestors, he would not be called Long Fei. At the Wu residence. What did you say? Isn't that Xian Wu Pavilion? Wu Ba was startled. He recalled what happened in the backyard of Xian Wu Pavilion and was secretly shocked in his heart. Who is he then? Wu Zhong said. Tian Long said he's that brat from East Imperial City. What's his name? Long Fei. Wu Ba was even more shocked in his heart. A brat from a mere trash land actually had such a strong power, breaking my pressure without even being able to react. It's really rare for him to not react at all. See you suddenly. Wu Ba thought of something and said, was it him in Xian Wu Pavilion who participated in the God's Design Addicts Appreciation Assembly last time? Wu Zhou nodded, yes. Wu Ba's mind shook, his eyes shone with a sinister light. It's him. Then, Wu Ba didn't even think as he quickly walked out of the hall. Soon, they arrived at a secret room. Send a message to my lord. He's been found. It's in Fairy City. Within the secret room, a pair of dark red eyes slightly moved as a low and deep voice sounded, as you command. Wu Ba was excited in his heart. This time, our Wu family will have another heavenly treasure. Devil sex prizes have always been the best. I can't believe it. He really gave me a huge gift. Our Wu clan will definitely become even more powerful in the future. At this time, pain. Wu Tianlong howled like a pig above the Wu household. Wu Ba's brows tightened and let out a deep sigh. Wu Ying quietly landed behind Wu Ba and said, Big brother, we caught 2 women and brought them back. One of them ran away. Wu Ba frowned. Wu Ying said. These three are a bit special. They all have a set of special divine treasure battle clothes with them. Their defense is extremely strong, but they were still broken by me. Now that he thought about it, he was still astonished. He had never seen such armor before. If it wasn't for the fact that his cultivation was much higher than theirs, it would be really difficult to deal with them. Just like Wu Zhong, the cultivation of the royal realm could not handle it. The two women have been brought to Sky Dragon's room. Wu Ying said faintly. Wu Ba nodded his head, and I understand. Rumble. Suddenly, a loud sound was heard from the front gate of the Wu clan. A youth. A sword hung by his side. The sword hums wreaked havoc, engulfing the entire Wu clan. The weapons on the mansion started to tremble uncontrollably. At this moment, killing intent filled the sky. Chapter 2976. Rank 8 Magical Beast Instant Kill. Chapter 2976. Rank 8 Magical Beast Instant Kill. Wu Ba, get your ass out here. Rumble. His voice was like thunder as it raged out. His voice was filled with an incomparable killing intent. The teenager's long hair swayed, his eyes were bloodshot, and the dragon sword beside him was spinning non-stop, the sword chimes ear-piercing. Who dares to be so impudent in the Wu clan? You're courting death. Two Wu family disciples rushed towards Long Fei. Long Fei squinted his eyes and coldly spat out two words, kill. Shwa shwa. The dragon's sword slightly moved. Two miserable shrieks sounded as their throats were pierced through. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Wu family disciples for obtaining 180 experience, 20 true spiritual value, and 1 universal value. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Wu family disciples for obtaining 180 experience, 20 true spiritual value, and 1 universal value. His experience was simply too low. This was also because their cultivation was lower than Long Fei's. Instant kill. Long Fei didn't even glance at it. It was also at this time that a large wave of Wu family disciples rushed out from the various paths. These disciples' cultivation bases were not high, but the Wu family was a high-ranking family in the fairy city, and they were powerful, so the disciples of the Wu family were all incredibly arrogant. In the fairy city, no one dared to barge into the Wu family, and no one would dare to kill as soon as they entered. Brat, you're courting death. Even if you have 10,000 lives today, you will still die here. You dare to commit murder in the Wu clan, you are doomed. Kill, kill. For a time, the sound of battle shook the skies. With over 100 people rushing forward, Long Fei was instantly surrounded, but he did not even give them a glance. He only said solemnly, all of you have to die. All of you must die. Boom! The aura on his body stirred. The Xinchalong sword also moved in an instant, flying straight up into the air. Within 100 meters, hundreds of Wu clan disciples were all killed in an instant. Blood gushed out. The students were like a gushing spring. Ding, ding, ding. Ding, ding, ding. The system beep was berserk. Long Fei stepped on the corpses of the Wu family disciples and walked in. The killing intent in his heart did not diminish at all. Rather, it became even stronger. Whoever touched his brother would die. Whoever touched his woman would die. What made Long Fei angry was that Wu Ba was a villain who went back on his words. 1 second he was in a well, the next he was in a river, and the next he was in a fight with someone who had hurt him. Long Fei felt that he was too naive. It was just that at that time, he was thinking about the Xian Wu Pavilion. Since this was the effort of the Grand Court, he never thought that the Wu family would make a move against Su Su and the others. In the world of martial Dao, the powerhouse was respected. There was no such thing as sinister and despicable, nor was there any reason. There was only the strong and the weak. He finally understood now. Once we kill him, we must not leave him any leeway. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Their steps were neat and orderly. Wearing silver armor, they swiftly charged out. Their leader was an elder of the Wu clan who wore silver armor and held a silver long spear in his hand. The long spear moved, shaking. From all directions, They surrounded Long Fei. The old man said, "Kid, who exactly are you? What enmity does the Wu clan have with you?" Long Fei said coldly, "Summon your patriarch Wu Ba out for me." "How dare you? You actually can call the patriarch by his name?" The old man shouted, "I advise you to immediately surrender, otherwise." Long Fei's eyes moved. "Otherwise, your entire family. Kill them all." His true spirit surged, and once again poured into the dragon sword. Dragon sword illusion. Roar. The dragon's roar shook the air as countless sword chis surged forward, slashing down horizontally one after another. Each slash was like a heavenly crack in the sky, directly slicing open the ground. Under the sword slash, there was only death. The silver-armored disciples were like radishes, slicing through everything in their path. Boom, boom, bang, bang, bang. The elite disciples of the Wu family and all the gods' elephant status were destroyed by the dragon sword again and again. Half of the Wu family fell into a state of panic. Everywhere Long Fei went, it was as if not even a blade of grass grew. At this moment, besides killing, he would kill. The more he killed, the more he burned. "Patriarch, this is bad." A disciple ran into the hall in panic. Wu Ba's forehead turned sinister. "What happened in the front yard? So panicked?" An elder said, "Could it be that someone dares to invade our Wu clan? See if he's tired of living." The disciple said, "Yes, yes." However, they didn't charge in. He slaughtered his way in. "Hundreds of Wu clan disciples have died. We can't stop him at all." "What?" Wu Ba suddenly stood up, his eyes staring wide, as though flames were spewing out of them. "Who is it? Is it the Wang family's powerhouse? Or is it that old freak from the Dong clan?" There were not many in Fairy City who dared to challenge the Wu family. A few of them were old freaks, but if they wanted to fight their way into the Wu clan, they would have to consider it. He definitely wouldn't dare to act so rashly. The disciple said, "That's not it. He is the youth that injured Heavenly Young Master Longlord." Wu Ba's eyes turned sinister. "That young man from East Imperial City." That disciple said, "That's him. The front courtyard has already been killed by him. If he doesn't stop it now, we'll slaughter our way to the back courtyard." How preposterous! One by one, the elders stood up in rage. "A mere piece of trash from a piece of trash land dares to shit and pee on our Wu clan. Killing so many of our clansmen is simply courting death. Too arrogant. Such a person dares to ride on our back? Does he think that our Wu clan has no one? I'll kill him." The Wu family elders were like their mother was raped, their wives were ganged up on, and countless green hats were on their heads. They were filled with fury, as if they wished they could eat Long Fei whole. The front yard was for the Wu family and some low-level disciples. The Wu family's powerhouse-s were all in the backyard. Wu Ba's eyes turned sinister. He walked to the courtyard and moved his idea, "Mountain Demon." Roar. An evil spirit roared. The void moved. When a mountain demon beast walked out, its fangs glinted with a cold light, and an evil aura gushed out from it. Wu Ba said solemnly, "It's been a long time since I made you eat someone. Go and swallow that brat alive. Make him regret coming to this world." As soon as he finished speaking, roar! Mountain Demon howled in rage, and with a single leap, he dashed towards the front courtyard. A magical beast of the 8th rank. Furthermore, it was an extremely aggressive demon beast. It was incomparably sturdy, and only had one in the Fairy City. Ha! When Mountain Demon fights, that brat will definitely be so scared that he'll wet his pants. A mere trash brat. Mountain Demon can swallow him with a single bite. Wu Ba sneered. Mountain Demon ate people with extreme cruelty and brutality. He wanted Long Fei to die. Death was incomparably cruel. However, before Wu Ba had even returned to the hall, the front yard had already let out a miserable howl of Mountain Elf. A disciple stumbled in. "Patriarch, your mount, a Class 8 magical beast, was killed instantly by that brat." Chapter 2977. Using a Divine Treasure. Chapter 2977. Using a Divine Treasure he died in less than half a minute after being released. After deducting the time to rush out and the time for the disciple to run back, that disciple would be instantly killed. It's a little fierce. All of the elders in the hall revealed looks of shock, including Wu Ba himself. As if he did not react, he lightly said, "What did you say?" That disciple replied, "I said, your mount, that mountain demon beast, was killed instantly." All of a sudden, everyone could hear him clearly. Level 8 mountain demon, its ruthlessness, bloodlust, and powerful attacks could be said to be something that even the Emperor Powerhouse could kill, but he was actually killed in an instant. In an instant, Wu Ba's anger was boiling. The spirit chi on his body was like a flame poured with oil. It burst out in an instant, and the entire courtyard became filled with dense killing intent. He was enraged to the extreme. A mere East Imperial City has such an expert. Impossible. East Imperial City is the most trashy place among the Western regions. Those people are the descendants of criminals, so it is impossible for them to have such a powerhouse. Whoever offends the Wu clan must die, Wu Ba said heavily, and was about to step forward. But right at this moment, boom, a black shadow came crashing down from the sky. Wu Ba raised his eyes and turned his body to the side. Boom! A huge corpse fell onto the ground. The courtyard shook. The corpse of the mountain elf. Furthermore, it was subdued by Wu Ba from deep within the Black Hell Mountain. It could be said that Wu Ba had accompanied him on his campaign throughout the years, and the Wu family was as strong as they were now. This mountain demon beast of the 8th step had contributed a lot to it, but now his head was chopped off. Wu Ba, who was already at the pinnacle of his anger, instantly entered a berserk state. Rage. Wu Ba's body erupted with power. His killing intent was like a steel knife. "You dog, I want you dead." Boom! With a single step forward, the bluestone floor was reduced to dust in an instant. He took 2 steps to the entrance of the yard, not waiting for him to leave the yard. Rumble. The gate of the courtyard was instantly kicked away, and a roar that was even more furious than Wu Ba shouted, "Wu Ba, get out here right now." Rumble. With a jolt of his strength, a droning sound erupted. Long Fei stood at the entrance of the small courtyard like a god of death. Wu Ba was not more than 10 meters away from him. The spirit chi on his body repelled the 2 doors, and with a pair of heavy eyes, he locked on a Long Fei and said gloomily, "Kill my clan and cut down my mounts. Today, no one will be able to save you." Long Fei's eyes angrily glared as he stared at Wu Ba. "Injuring my brother, stealing my woman. Today, I will not send you to meet the king of hell." Killing intent clashed. The entire space shook violently. A Emperor Strongman. One of them was God's elephant state. The difference in levels between the two was tens of levels, but the clash of killing intent was exceptionally intense. Wu Ba smirked and said solemnly, "So for those 2 women. Men, go and bring those 2 women to me. I want to kill them in front of him bit by bit." Wu Ba was not in a hurry. He felt that killing Long Fei in one move was too easy. He wanted to make Long Fei feel incomparable pain. He wanted to vent the anger and killing intent in his heart to his heart's content. However, Long Fei did not give him the chance. The dragon's sword beside him slightly moved. Buzz! A sword chime rang out, and his mind trembled. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Powerful sword shadows appeared and continued to flash, filling every corner of the courtyard. Not only that, the swords of the Wu clan elders couldn't help but tremble. The faces of all the elders changed, an incomparably powerful sword intent. At the same time, Wu Ba also felt the Xinchalong sword's sword intent, and his mind was secretly shocked, but he was not shocked. "You want to destroy my Wu family with this sword? Humph! Little bastard, do you think my Wu family is that easily destroyed?" Rumble. As soon as he said that, Wu Ba's clothes fluttered, and a huge explosive sound rang. Immediately after, his right hand moved, and something that looked like a weight dropped from the sky and smashed down heavily. Buzz! It directly landed on the Xinchalong sword S. The Xinchalong sword slightly lowered its head and moved. "Master!" Long Fei's true soul gushed in crazily. However, the Emperor Realm true spirit on Wu Ba's body was actually faster than Long Fei. Furthermore, the might of the Emperor Realm was like 100,000 ferocious beasts as it pounced towards Long Fei. Even a little bastard like you dares come and behave so atrociously in my Wu family? Get down! A furious roar. His divine treasure suddenly pressed down, shocking the Xinchalong's sword. At the same time, the might of the Emperor Realm pounced towards Long Fei. With a step, his left hand formed a claw. Two ear-piercing shrieks sounded in the sky, disturbing his state of mind. His 5 fingers turned into a sharp claw, grabbing towards Long Fei's heart. Fierce fast, Long Fei's pupils shrank rapidly. His body, which could not withstand the pressure of the Emperor Realm, trembled nonstop. He didn't take half a step back, but his right hand moved. Buzz! Yet another sword chime. The sword hummed. The killing sword on his palm disappeared into the air. Buzz! It directly pierced toward the back of Wu Ba's head. Patriarch! Big brother! A few elders reacted extremely quickly. When they saw the killing sword that shot out from the spatial crack, they immediately shouted out, but in that instant, Wu Ba also sensed it. His eyes narrowed. There's still hope, isn't there? Lame duck. Let's see just how many divine treasures you have. Boom! His body sank, and a thick layer of grayish-black supreme force covered his entire body, making him look like an overlord of the One Piece. Bam! The killing sword pierced forward. Crack! The grayish-black supreme force shattered. Wu Ba was shocked. A roar of rage rang out. The strong energy directly bounced the killing sword away. Clang! The killing sword landed. Long Fei's level was too low, and his level was limited. His true soul level was also unable to keep up, and was unable to release its stronger power. Both attacks were blocked. Wu Ba's cultivation was too strong. The power of the Emperor's realm was exerted to the limit. At the same time, Long Fei was secretly shocked. The limits of Xinchalong's sword and killing sword. Lame duck, what else do you have to rely on? No more. Wu Ba looked like he was about to devour someone. His expression was filled with anger. His 2 fingers grabbed towards Long Fei's throat, and he said sinisterly, "Die." Bang, bang, bang. The air exploded. The power of the Emperor's realm was unleashed to its limit. There was no way to break this move. The Wu clan elders all laughed sinisterly. In their eyes, Long Fei was already a dead person. Long Fei stood in place without moving an inch. Both of his eyes stared coldly at Wu Ba, who was rushing towards him like a phantom. He glanced at his right hand and said slightly, "You have nowhere to rely on? No divine treasure? This daddy here has so many treasures that you can't even imagine it." Bam! Big Master Guard arm. Chapter 2978. Explosive Killing Wu Ba. Chapter 2978. Explosive Killing Wu Ba. No one relied on him. Long Fei still had a lot of cards up his sleeves, enough to make Wu Ba doubt his own life. Following Long Fei's loud shout, with the dragon mark on his right arm as the center, his entire arm was like a mecha transformation. Crack! Boom! At this time, Long Fei should say, "Great Master, transform." This was more appropriate. However, right now, he only has one arm with a Big Master Guard arm. The Big Master Guard arm was made up of 18 pieces of metal, and each piece contained an ancient giant demon. Boom! Clenching his 5 fingers, power raged. Long Fei raised his eyes. The illusory Wu Ba struck out with his palm. It was too fast. It could not be seen clearly. However, Long Fei did not care that much as he clenched his teeth and punched towards the illusion. Humph! You overestimate yourself. Your little strength is not enough to tickle me. Break it for me. Wu Ba's palm struck down at Long Fei's fist. At this moment, Wu Tianlong was supported by 2 small fry people as he walked in from the other side. Seeing this step, he was incomparably excited. "What's wrong with him, father?" "Kill him." "Ha! The trash of the East Imperial City. Are you still not going to die today? Ha! Your 2 women are mine now. Even if I can't be human, I will still ravage them every day. making them beg for death, haha. Wu Tianlong laughed sinisterly. The anger in his heart was also venting. Not many in the fairy city could withstand his father's attack. Finished, Wu Tianlong looked at Su Su and Lan Mei who were behind him and said sinisterly, "Did you see that? You men are going to die, haha." Su Su and Lan Mei were bleeding from the corner of their mouths, their faces red and swollen. Seeing the expressions of Long Fei and the others tensed up, they wanted to struggle, but their powers were completely restricted, unable to struggle free. "Big brother Long Fei, don't worry about us. Run." They were very happy that Long Fei had appeared, but the Wu family was too strong. How could Long Fei be a match for them? Such a Wu family could annihilate the entire East Imperial City. Even if Long Fei came, it wouldn't be enough. Long Fei's pupils constricted. The fury in his heart grew even stronger. Anger attacked the heart. His strength surged even more violently. Rumble. Punches clashed. In that instant, a powerful shockwave spread out, covering the entire Wu family like the impact of a nuclear bomb. Time seemed to have stopped. Everyone's mind was crushed, and even Wu Ba himself had widened his eyes in anger, not daring to believe it. It was definitely not the power of a god's elephant state warrior. Absolutely not. Crack. A bone-cracking sound could be heard. Everyone in the yard heard it. Wu Tianlong laughed. "Brat, your hand is broken, right?" Before he could finish his words, Wu Ba's palm suddenly sank. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face instantly turned pale. Yet another instant later, his right arm exploded, and his entire arm exploded into smithereens as it shot out, completely gone. Everyone was dumbfounded. Wu Tianlong's mouth was wide open, completely dumbfounded. Wu Ba heavily retreated. Looking at his crippled arm, the fury in his heart instantly cooled down. This was the first time he had ever felt fear. "No, no." Wu Ba's voice trembled slightly. "I'll take your life while you're sick," Long Fei said in a gloomy voice. With a move of his snapshot step, his movement speed increased by multiple folds. One step landed in front of Wu Ba. Wu Ba's eyes were unfocused. His body trembled as he kept on shouting, "No, no, no, don't kill me, don't kill me." Scared silly? Why would the Emperor's strongman plead for mercy to a warrior of the gods' elephant state? Was his brain flooded? The experts of the Wu family were all stunned as they looked at Wu Ba. All of this was like an illusion. The images they imagined simply did not exist. Long Fei's right fist sank. Each word was filled with killing intent, as he said, "Those who harm my brothers will die. Those who touch my woman die." Crack! Clenching his fists tightly, he did not care if he could still release the power inside the big Master Guard arm. What Long Fei wanted now was to kill Wu Ba. Boom! Uppercut fist. It directly smashed into Wu Ba's lower jaw, and Wu Ba acted like he could not react in time as he did not try to block the attack. Bam! A punch landed on his lower jaw, and he was sent flying. However, he did not fly out into the sky like the Lord of Great Devil, and Long Fei had also felt that the power of the big Master Guard arm required time to be filled up. The power of the first punch was almost used up, so it didn't have the power to kill in an instant. The power of the second punch was clearly much weaker. However, after 2 punches, Wu Ba was already dumbfounded. His right arm had been crippled, his internal organs were tumbling about, and he was completely unable to release the might of the Emperor realm. Most importantly, he was afraid. He was scared. Boom! He landed heavily on the ground. A bright red damage appeared above his head. Not dead. Long Fei moved again, and without waiting for him to get up, he sat on Wu Ba's body and punched down fiercely with his right fist, using all of his strength with every punch. The punch landed on his flesh. Punch! Come on. Didn't you want me? Come on. Injure my brother? You want to steal my woman? Come on. Long Fei vented his rage ruthlessly, and his fist swept out like a violent storm, striking right at Wu Ba's head every single time. No matter what kind of powerhouse it was, their head would always be the weakest part. As long as he could smash his head to pieces, this person would be completely dead. All of the Wu family members were just watching in a daze. It was unknown if they were shocked by Long Fei or if they did not react in time. No one stepped forward to stop him. No one attacked Long Fei either. However, even if he attacked now, there was no use. There was only a little bit of blood left on top of Wu Ba's head. Even if Long Fei didn't attack again, Wu Ba would have died from the loss of blood. Rumble! Another heavy punch struck, and Wu Ba's head exploded like a watermelon. The thin line of blood on the top of his head became 0. Kill! The system beeped. Long Fei looked up and slowly stood up. Both of his hands were still dripping with blood as they fell down one by one. His face was also splashed with blood. His aura was even more ferocious than that of a vicious beast. The Wu clan members felt their scalps go numb and their hearts tremble. Is he even King human? Chapter 2979, Extermination. Chapter 2979, Extermination. The leader of the Wu clan, level 1 of the Emperor's realm. One of the powerhouse S of the fairy city was beaten to death by chaotic fist just like that, without any pattern. He just kept on bombarding. And then he was beaten to death. Being killed by the god's elephant state made their scalps go numb. More importantly, not only did he kill Wu Ba, he had also crushed the entire Wu family, not just under the pressure, but the killing intent in his eyes. An incomparably savage aura. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Wu Ba for obtaining 1100,000,000 experience, 100,000 true spiritual value, and 1 universal value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the dragon subduing ad. Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining the golden stellar force. Do you wish to cultivate it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining. The system beep went berserk. Long Fei didn't even look at them and stood up instead. He looked straight at Su Su and Lan Mei and said gently, "Let's go home." Wu Ba flipped it over and over. The anger in his heart was almost released. The only thing he wanted to do now was to bring Su Su and Lan Mei and leave, and as for Wu Tianlong, his level didn't even have 100 experience points, so he belonged to the type that was too lazy to kill. Then again, without Wu Ba, his life would not be easy. At this moment, Wu Tianlong roared out loudly, "Wait, what kind of place do you think the Wu clan is? Come at will, and leave at will? You think you can escape after killing my father?" Following his roar, the experts of the Wu clan also reacted. Looking at the bloodied Wu Ba on the ground, all of them were enraged. "Don't think about leaving here alive. Kid, you can't leave today." All of their eyes were staring angrily, the killing intent on their bodies becoming stronger and stronger. They were all like mad beasts, wanting to pounce and swallow Long Fei up. Long Fei stood in the courtyard and said coldly, "If you want to die, then do it." Finished. Long Fei stared at Wu Tianlong again and said, "No one can stop me, not even the Emperor. I have given you a chance, and if you provoke me again and again, you will end up like this." Wu Tianlong roared, "Are all of you King dead? Kill him. Take revenge for my father." Wu Tianlong roared heavily. He could only use this method to drive away the fear in his heart. The Wu clan elder was stunned. Immediately, dozens of Powerhouse S pounced over, all of them being Emperor Powerhouse S. The Venerable One's cultivation level was much higher than Long Fei's, so Long Fei stood there motionlessly, unmoving. The corners of his mouth curled up coldly as he smiled and said, "I gave you a chance to live, but you still want to die, right? Then Lousy will accept them all." Buzz! A sword hum resounded. The dragon's sword moved. He landed beside Long Fei and changed the sword aura into a round disc. Long Fei's powerful, true spiritual value surged. The Xinchalong's sword moved. Long Fei said coldly, "Kill them all." Boom! The Xinchalong sword released its super strong sword intent and slashed down heavily. Dragon sword cut. Rumble, rumble, rumble. With a 360-degree angle without a blind spot, He cut all those who rushed over into two. Blood spurted like wildfire, continuously splashing onto Long Fei's body. Long Fei did not dodge. He liked this feeling. He liked the feeling of being the master of other people's lives. He liked the feeling of blood and killing. At this moment, his blood boiled inexplicably in his heart. He was bloodthirsty and bloodthirsty. It had always been like this in his bones. The game system, murder upgrade, it was all for the sake of him. It was just that he kept suppressing it, try his best to not let the system take control of him and not become a murderous demon controlled by the system. Now, he released the nature of the system. The Xinchalong sword were swept clean, but Long Fei did not stop there. The Xinchalong sword flew into the air, and then they started massacring in the Wu clan. He was truly furious today. One sword, one sword, one sword, one sword sound. His experience points was rising rapidly, as if he was flying in God's devil city. Ding, ding, ding. The Wu family's blood flowed like rivers. The slaughter continued for half an hour. Long Fei looked at Wu Tianlong, who was so scared that he looked like a dead man, and said coldly, "Do you know the consequences of provoking me now?" Wu Tianlong's lips turned purple, not daring to speak. The minions who had supported him by his side were also dead. The person who grabbed Su Su and Lan Mei was also dead. Right now, Wu Tianlong was the only one left in the entire Wu family. Wu Tianlong's body trembled, her lips trembled, her throat started rolling as she said, You will die. Factory Sect's uncle will not let you go. Factory Sect will also not let you go. You are a killing demon. Factory Sect will not. So noisy, Long Fei said indifferently. The Xinchalong sword moved and directly pierced through Wu Tianlong's mouth. His entire body was nailed to the wall. Dead. The huge Wu residence became deathly silent. Only the sound of blood flowing could be heard. Su Su and Lan Mei were also shocked by this scene. Long Fei said indifferently, You guys go out first. Su Su and Lan Mei did not ask any further and walked out. Long Fei's gaze swept across the place slightly, and the Xinchalong sword moved. Long Fei followed him. Not long later, the Xinchalong sword flew to a house in front of the Wu family's treasure pavilion. Long Fei's mouth hooked up as he stepped in. He was an absolute man. Do your best. He wanted others to know that this was what would happen if they provoked him. They would take all the immortal weapons and treasures from the treasure trove and collect them all. Ding! System notification. Experience points plus 8932231 points. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Currently at level 2 Celestial Phenomenon. Who, after leveling up another level, Long Fei left the Wu household. The moment he walked out of the Wu clan, the entire clan was annihilated. The main gate of the Wu household was surrounded by people. Upon seeing Long Fei walk out, everyone trembled. None of them dared to be disrespectful in the slightest, nor did they dare to be one that ridiculed and despised him. This was reality. This was the world where the warrior was revered and the powerhouse was king. One man, one sword, annihilated the fairy city's high-ranking Wu clan. How strong was this? It could be said that no powerhouse would be able to do it. Long Fei did it. What he received was not contempt, but respect. Respect. However, Qin Shuang's brows slightly sank. He knew that Long Fei was someone from the East Imperial City, and that he had come to the fairy city to enter, but the Wu family had a certain power in the factory sect. And the most important thing was that such a huge massacre would cause Long Fei's assessment to be extremely disadvantageous. His eyes could not help but look towards Long Fei, and he did not know what to say. However, at this moment, he admired Long Fei even more, because there was nothing he didn't dare to do. The feeling Qin Shuang got was that even if he had to become enemies with the entire world, he was not afraid. This was Long Fei. Chapter 2980, The King Kong is about to arrive. Chapter 2980, The King Kong is about to arrive. Fairy City was shocked for an entire half a month when the Wu family was not exterminated. The entire street and alleyway were talking about it. At the same time, They were also having a change in their opinion of the East Imperial City. A wasteland? Now, he could even wipe out a high-class family like the Wu family. And it was even just the god's elephant state. How powerful was this person? However, the Wu clan had been exterminated, but a few of its disciples were still alive. Wu Ba's other two sons. It was also Wu Tianlang, Wu Qianhu, who was participating in the factory sex assessment this year. At this moment, they knelt in front of the demon palace. As long as it allows me to take revenge, I am willing to bear any pain. As long as I can kill him, I am willing to cast my soul into the infernal domain. I will never regret having reincarnated. The two brothers kowtowed heavily. Seated on the high seat, a purple-robed man looked at the two of them, his right hand raised slightly. The Wu clan was originally my magic tribes. Now that the Wu clan has been annihilated, I will not just stand by and watch. People must be killed. Not only do we have to kill him, we have to imprison his soul in the abyss of the infernal domain forever, making him suffer for eternity. The man said gloomily, not only because Long Fei annihilated the Wu family, but also because Long Fei killed his three disciples. Moreover, the Xinchalong sword had already left the land of the seal, but, however, the archaic Devil King that was guarding inside did not come out. This was the thing that annoyed him the most. He absolutely could not tolerate a mere trash from East Imperial City. Wu Tianlang said heavily, "Thank you, Sect Master." The purple-robed man said slightly, "The two of you go back first and hide in the factory sect. After arriving at the examination hall 7 days later, I will send people to participate in this time's factory sect selection. I will make it so that this year's factory sect won't be able to pick a single disciple." His voice was like a bell. He continued to walk in circles within the palace. In another place, God's Devil City. God's Devil City had a terrible stench in the air, and corpses piled up like mountains. After the Xinchalong sword had washed this place clean, there was no one left alive. Half a month later, a jet-black flame suddenly fell from the sky. Then, the black flames were like sponges crazily absorbing the energy. The stinky body parts were sucked into the flames, and the hundreds of corpses disappeared. Finally, the jet-black flames slowly gathered and turned into a man covered in maggots. His head was cracked open, and he looked like a zombie. Cluck, cluck, cluck. His bones slightly moved. It was as if his body hadn't moved for tens of thousands of years. When he felt the movement of his bones, his tattered lips curled up slightly, revealing an incomparably terrifying smile. His mouth was dry as he said with some difficulty, "I have finally come out." Haha. In another place, the northern desert, a bald, 2-meter-tall man who was half naked and had muscles as though they were cast out of copper water looked somewhat silly, walking in the desert of the forbidden area for humans. One step at a time. Suddenly, a giant demon beast that was hidden under the sand suddenly rushed out, its mouth full of saw teeth, as if it wanted to swallow this big guy up. The gigantic demon beast looked at the big guy with glowing eyes, thinking that this meat was another delicious meal. This scene was too terrifying. It was as if a piece of sky was pressing down to swallow a person up. However, the big bloke did not move at all, as if there was no reaction at all. He continued to walk forward. He completely ignored the gigantic demon beast. Just as the gigantic demon beast fell to the ground, the big bloke raised his eyes slightly and said naively, "So annoying." His right hand moved. A blinding golden light flashed, and a huge amount of energy was sucked out of the gigantic demon beast, which was then followed by a sudden shoulder throw. Rumble, rumble. The gigantic demon beast smashed onto the ground. Sand flew everywhere. All the bones in its body shattered, and its 2 eyes popped out. It didn't even know how it died. The big guy glanced at the gigantic demon beast and mumbled, "If only Boss was here, he would definitely like this kind of demon beast." Finished. The big bloke's eyes returned to his silly look as he continued to walk forward. Behind him, the road was filled with giant demon beasts. This kind of demon beast would not even dare to approach Emperor Strongman, and he killed them all the way. Once you pass through the northern desert, you will reach the western regions. Boss, are you in western regions? The big bloke's eyes seemed to ripple as he looked into the distance, as if he was thinking about something. Fairy City. Ding. Refinery failure. Ding. Refinery failure. Ding. Refinery failure. Long Fei was constantly refining. For the past half-month, other than urging Tandapeo and the others to cultivate, and himself cultivating normally for an hour every day, he spent the rest of his time on refining equipment, because he had said that he would return to the Xianwu Pavilion. Ding. Refinery failure. Ding. System notification. Refining techniques has been upgraded. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up to Immortal stage. You have obtained a reward, a level 1 immortal weapon. Long Fei looked at its attributes and immediately took it back. System, do you think I'm a beggar? And then, Long Fei stood up. It's time. Grand Court died, but I did what I promised him, so that sword of war god is still mine. And Long Fei felt the killing sword. This guy thought about killing sword every day. And then again, the battle uniforms of Tandapeo, Su Su, and Lan Mei had all been destroyed. The day for the factory sex selection was just a few days away, so he had to prepare for them. Tandapeo immediately walked over and said excitedly, "Boss, bring me along." Tandapeo withdrew the huge cannon on his right arm, and it was as if his entire arm had life and could transform into all kinds of firearms in an extremely short amount of time. In the past half-month, Tandapeo's progress was extremely fast. Adding the pills left behind by Qin Shuang and the other factory sect disciples, his cultivation had already reached level 1 of celestial phenomenon. He was comparable to a monster. Of course, Tandapeo usually forced himself to his death. He knew that he did not have the talent for blood vein, so if he wanted to quickly break through, he could only work hard, 10 times or even 100 times harder than others. Only then would he be able to keep up with Long Fei's footsteps. Only then would they feel that they had the qualifications to follow Long Fei. Su Su and Lan Mei also walked over and said, "We also want to go." The two of them had been cultivating for more than half a month without a single moment of rest. Their training was much easier than Tandapeo's. This was also because of their gifted vein S, especially Lan Mei. Her cultivation speed was extremely fast. She had already reached level 5 sage. He left everyone far behind. Su Su was a little slower, but she was still able to step into the god's elephant state. Her main cultivation center was the cure. She wanted to become Long Fei's super wet nurse. Thus, during this time, her chest had also become a lot larger. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, "All right, you guys have been holding it in for half a month now. Today, I'll take you all out for a good stroll, and also take back what belongs to me. Let's go. Go to Xianwu Pavilion." Chapter 2981. I'll take your life. Chapter 2981. I'll take your life. In this half a month, Long Fei had never forgotten about Sword of War God. Not only for Su Su, Lan Mei, and the other materials in their battle clothes, but also for the killing sword S to devour and level up. Currently, Long Fei had found a method to cultivate the immortal ancient inheritance and the of the underworld fire. He could only start cultivating the killing sword first. The limit of killing sword S was Royal Realm, so even if they met Emperor Strongman S, they would not be able to instantly kill them. If he could take another step, maybe Emperor Strongman could also instantly kill him. Xianwu Pavilion. Yin Kong looked at Long Fei with a slightly fearful expression. They had plundered the entire Wu family just because Long Fei massacred them completely. Now that they were in Xianwu Pavilion again, they did not dare to underestimate them, nor did they dare to ridicule them. Xianwu Pavilion had also changed during this half a month. Yin Kong became a grand court, and Gua Yin became the vice pavilion master. As for Yi Qingshan, his status did not change at all. He was only an ordinary elder. It was just that during this half a month, he did not attract the attention of the other elders in the Xianwu Pavilion. Yin Kong said slightly, "Long Fei, what are you doing here?" Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "What? Can't I come?" Yin Kong said, I can, of course I can come. My Xian Wu Pavilion has opened its doors for business. Anyone can come. I just wonder if you have taken a fancy to that immortal weapon? Long Fei looked left and right and said, I think the Xian Wu Pavilion is pretty good. Guo Yin immediately could not hold back and said angrily, Long Fei, what are you trying to do? Don't think we have to be afraid of you, just because you've annihilated the Wu family. Humph! Long Fei was, after all, not Wu Ba. After all, he did not have the Wu clan's power in the fairy city. More importantly, Long Fei came from the East Imperial City of the Wasteland. Therefore, in their hearts, they still looked down on Long Fei. Long Fei laughed and said, I didn't make you all be afraid of me. What I said just now was also true. This Xian Wu Pavilion is indeed not bad. It's just that he's the Xian Wu Pavilion from half a month ago. The current Xian Wu Pavilion speaks the truth. It's not worth a penny. How dare you? Guo Yin shouted. How can this be a place that you can humiliate? Who do you think you are? Yin Kong said, Long Fei, if the reason why you came to Xian Wu Pavilion is to humiliate this place, then please leave. You are not welcome here. Long Fei's eyes moved. Tandapeo immediately took a step forward and said, Mother of Asterisk Kerr, listen carefully. Today, we are here to challenge the Xian Wu Pavilion. As soon as he finished speaking, a challenge token was thrown at Yin Kong's feet. Amongst the crowd, Yi Qingshan's gaze tensed up. Yin Kong looked at the challenge mark on the ground, and a crease appeared between his eyebrows. He looked at Long Fei again seriously, and a hint of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Tandapeo thought that Yin Kong was talking about him, and immediately took a step back. It's not me, it's my boss. Ha! Ha! Guo Yin immediately laughed out loud. You guys even know how to forge artifacts? Is there anyone in the East Imperial City who knows how to forge artifacts? Ha ha! If it was a competition of force, Xian Wu Pavilion might not be his match. But compared to refining, with just Long Fei, other than wanting to laugh, they had no other word to describe how they were feeling right now. Guo Yin laughed out loud, and so did the surrounding elder refining S. In all these years in the East Imperial City, there has not been a single artificer? No. The person who came out of the East Imperial City did not even bother to look at anything called refining. Long Fei, a young lad, probably had never even looked at anything, let alone refining. He dared to challenge the Xian Wu Pavilion? Other than laughter, there was only laughter. Yi Qingshan took a step forward and said, Brother Long, the challenge token is not a joke. Refining is also not something that can be done in a day or two. Yi Qingshan was also worried. Even if Long Fei could release refining fire, it did not mean that he could refine artifacts. Moreover, a failure to challenge meant leaving behind one's life. Before Yi Qingshan could finish his words, Guo Yin immediately said, Wait, the challenger has arrived. Even if you want to leave, it's too late. Kid, you are too arrogant. Today, I will teach you a lesson and let you know what it means to forge artifacts. He was just worrying about not finding a chance to defeat Long Fei. He had long since disliked Long Fei and impersonated him as the Grand Court. Furthermore, he gave the refining fire to Yi Qingshan, which made many people in the Xian Wu Pavilion displeased. I'll see how you can still act so arrogantly today. Guo Yin squinted and started to feel proud. Winning a sentence from him is not the key point. The key point is that he has the refining fire, if I can get it. Hee hee. What is that Yin Kong worth? Yi Qingshan looked at Yin Kong and said, Grand Court, Brother Long Fei has saved our Xian Wu Pavilion before. He was absolutely impulsive just now. Yin Kong interrupted. Elder Yi, the challenge order is here. Even if he was impulsive, the artifact forging challenge will still have to begin. If not, then how does Fairy City see us as Xian Wu Pavilion? And how does our Xian Wu Pavilion stand up in Fairy City? Tandapeo shouted, Cut the crap, let the challenge begin. Long Fei was not in a hurry. He could not wait any longer. He could not bear to see the Xian Wu Pavilion clan elder being so haughty and haughty. Guo Yin laughed proudly. I can't wait either. Long Fei said with a faint sound, Wait first. Guo Yin's expression immediately changed, and he said, "Kid, with the challenge order in hand, it's too late for you to go back on your word. Unless you're like Izun, kneeling down, kowtowing, and admitting your wrongs, and then handing over the refining fire on you." Long Fei laughed. "You are mistaken. I have never gone back on my word. I just want to know about the matter of the challenge token. If I win, will I be able to get the entire Xianwu Pavilion?" "You win. Ha ha, ha ha." Guiyin threw his head back and laughed. The elder refining behind him also began to laugh loudly. Guiyin said, "This is the funniest joke I've heard this year, no? It's the funniest joke I've ever heard in my life." After his smile faded, Guiyin's gaze turned cold and filled with contempt. "You think you can win? You're not going to take a piss. That's nothing." Long Fei's gaze tensed up. The muzzle on Tandapeo's right arm twitched and was about to fire. Su and Lan Mei were also very unhappy. Long Fei asked, "Is that so?" Yin Kong said, "That's right. If you win, the Xianwu Pavilion will be yours, but if you lose..." Without waiting for Yin Kong to finish speaking, Long Fei said, "Then I understand. Winning against Xianwu Pavilion is all mine, including your lives, right?" Long Fei emphasized the word life. The elder refining in hall suddenly went silent. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "I'm worried, and I won't really take your lives, but..." Her gaze then turned to Guiyin and said, "I will take your life." Guiyin's eyes turned sinister. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "Then let's see who wants their life. Then let's see how you kneel in front of me and beg for mercy." Chapter 2982, Swift Lightning. Chapter 2982, Swift Lightning. Are you ready? In Xianwu Pavilion's artifact forging room, 2 fires were already burning. On the other side of the furnace, there were all sorts of materials for refining immortal weapons. Martial spirit beads, Xianming fine steel, various energy ores, gems, etc. During this half a month, Long Fei had always been training in the refining techniques, constantly failing and always learning from his failures. It could be said that even the several tens of years of master refiners were not as successful as him in these 15 days. And for the past half month, he had been using the worst quality materials to refine in order to accumulate the grade of the refining techniques. This was the first time he had truly refined a weapon since he came to the universal realm. Guiyin laughed coldly and said, "Brat, if you have any last words, hurry up and say them. Don't kneel in front of me then. Very arrogant. Very pretentious." Long Fei hated this kind of people and said slightly, "You should think about whether or not you can live later on." "Humph." Guiyin coldly snorted. "You're still being arrogant? Let's see how long you can stay arrogant for." Boom! Guiyin's true soul surged. The flames in the furnace suddenly burst out by a few tens of feet, and the refining room instantly became scorching hot. His true soul accelerated. The flames turned purple and blue. The Xianming fine steel moved as it directly flew into the flame, its right hand grabbing onto the Xianming fine steel and preventing it from falling down. Just like that, it steadily floated within the purplish-blue flame. It didn't move at all. This was clearly a sign of his super control ability. Many elder refining revealed looks of astonishment, and even Yin Kong himself was secretly nervous. This super control ability had already surpassed the immortal stage master refiner. Boom! With an explosive sound, the flames within the flames began to frantically drill into the Xianming fine steel. The Xianming fine steel was also crazily absorbing the flames, and before it even lasted half a minute, the Xianming fine steel started to turn red. The Xianming fine steel was an extremely dense and hard material, and to melt it, one would not only need a lot of time, but also an extremely high temperature and the ability of a blacksmith. In half a minute, Guiyin had reached the pinnacle. What a strong refining techniques. Vice Pavilion Master Gua is really strong. Ha ha! This time, we have one for sure. Look, that little brat still hasn't moved. He must have been scared silly by Elder Gua. Ha ha! He must have been scared silly. I wonder if he even has bird pants. Ha ha! Many people began to laugh. Long Fei indeed did not move. He was checking the properties of the material. In this half a month of refining, he had been using the metal block the entire time, so he didn't have to pay too much attention to the material's attributes. But it was different this time. Wanting to defeat Guo Yin wasn't an easy task. He had to take it seriously. The Xianming Fine Steel has traces of profound superforce of Ming Clan. It's very thin, but if I can release this sliver of the profound superforce of Ming Clan, then this immortal weapon should have reached its limit. Long Fei muttered in his heart. Furthermore, there were also auxiliary items like the martial spirit bead, energy, ore, and gem. These things were actually a bit complicated and would instead affect the strength of Xianming Fine Steel. The stats were too messy, and if he mixed them up, it would affect the stats of the weapon and its quality. Boom, boom, boom. Guo Yin had already started to swing his hammer and strike it, removing the Xianming Fine Steel's impurities, and, at the same time, injecting the martial spirit pearl into it. It didn't have enough energy to explode with such a powerful force. The energy within the martial spirit pearl was completely controlled by Guo Yin and was completely assimilated into the Xianming Fine Steel. It caused the Xianwu Pavilioness to gasp in shock. This technique, I think he's going to surpass a immortal stage refiner. He did not display such great power during the previous competition with the Grand Court. Too awesome. I'm afraid even the immortal stage refining Chief Master would not be able to do that. Look at that kid. He still hasn't moved. It's settled. Guo Yin glanced at Long Fei, and he became even more pleased with himself. How dare a bumpkin from a useless land act so insolently in front of me? Refining. Ha ha. Even if all 18 generations of your ancestors were added together, they still wouldn't be my match. Boom. The true soul on Guo Yin's body moved, once again increasing its speed. The energy gems and ores were also thrown in, wrapped up by the Xianming Fine Steel's molten liquid. It was crazily absorbing. Boom. Boom. Guo Yin quickly started to pound, his power continuously converging and congealing, not missing a single bit. Yin Kong smiled lightly and stroked his beard, thinking, it's stable this time. Why hasn't Long Fei made his move yet? What's boss doing? Why haven't you started it yet? That Guo Yin is about to be completed. Exactly. Su Su and Tandapeo were extremely anxious, and the more they looked, the more anxious they became. Lan Mei said in a low voice, don't be anxious. He won't disappoint us. He never will. Lan Mei firmly believed in this, because he was Long Fei. Found it. Long Fei picked up a small black ore. This ore's properties should be able to increase the profound energy of the Xianming Fine Steel by around 3 times. It was also at this time. Boom! Long Fei's true soul surged and the fire started to burn. The 7-colored artifact Fire from the God's Design token also moved, but Long Fei's idea immediately stopped it. He did not need to use the refining fire to deal with Guo Yin. Someone as arrogant as Guo Yin immediately used all his strength to slap his face. Rumble, 100,000 points. Long Fei moved and directly injected his 100,000 points inside, causing the flames to become abnormally hot. Guo Yin glanced at Long Fei and sneered. Why don't you use the rainbow refining fire? I am afraid that it will not be able to sustain the energy of the refining fire. Ha ha ha, it doesn't belong to you. A trash like you simply doesn't have the qualifications to own a refining fire. Guo Yin started to despise her ruthlessly. His work was almost finished, and this was the best immortal weapon he had ever refined. He was sure that he could beat Long Fei. Tandapeo shouted, Trash your grandpa. Long Fei ignored him. Right now, his consciousness was one as all, and all of his attention was focused within the flames. When the flames completely ignited, his idea moved once again. 1,000,000 true spiritual value. Release it. Rumble. With an explosive sound, the flames began to compress, just like when a flame lance was adjusted to its most violent state. Huff, 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 huff. Flames that pierced the wind. Long Fei exhaled lightly, his gaze becoming tense. With a move of the idea in his heart, it immediately activated the refining techniques, and in that instant, the the Xianming fine steel flew into the flames. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The Xianming fine steel turned into liquid and floated within the flames. This speed was astonishingly fast. Everyone was stunned. Long Fei didn't stop at all and threw the tiny black ore in. Within a few seconds, it also dissolved and the two liquids merged together. Big Master Guard arm. Bang, bang, bang. On his right arm, a protective layer of energy wrapped around his arm. Using his hand as a hammer, he began to ruthlessly temper the liquid within the flame. It was as fast as a machine gun. It was like a phantom image. Half a minute later, the fire suddenly went out. Long Fei's left palm flipped and an underworld fire appeared. He felt a sharp pain in his chest, but it disappeared in a moment. The underworld fire was tempered. Half a second later, Long Fei raised his eyes and said, "Refining is complete." Chapter 2983, Divine Weapons, Grunting the Field. Chapter 2983, Divine Weapons, Grunting the Field, Refining is done. When the voice fell, the entire audience was in complete silence, so much so that even a pin drop could be heard. All of them looked at Long Fei as if he was a monster, and they all had a question in their hearts. Is he human? Is he a ghost? No, he should be a monster. This was too abnormal. How long did it take to forge a weapon? A minute? Half a minute? Guo Yan started 10 minutes earlier than Long Fei, but he still had not completed it yet. Was this the difference? This should not be in the same world. Ha ha! Tandapeo laughed excitedly. Did you see that? What do you mean by smithing? Open your dog eyes wide and look young, huh? Do you guys know what is considered refining? Weren't you smiling just now? Keep laughing. If you keep laughing, why aren't you laughing? East Imperial City is a wasteland? Even if it is the land of trash, I will trample all over you bunch of conceited beings. Tandapeo ruthlessly vented the anger he held in his heart, and he could finally vent it out. Guo Yan's aura started to become chaotic. He was disturbed by Long Fei's artifact forging. Fear rose in his heart. This was the most fatal situation to occur during the refining process. It was also at this time, Yin Kong watched Long Fei finish refining the black dagger, without being able to see any of its attributes, nor could he sense any of its immortal chi. He said slightly, "The artifact forging challenge is not about speed, but about the level of the immortal weapon, its quality, and its attribute strength." Grand Court is right. It's not like we're competing in speed. Why do we have to be so fast? Exactly. Brat, what are you bragging about? Do you think it's a race run? You think you can win so quickly? Only you know how to forge artifacts? It's better to take a rest. As his voice faded, so did his words. Guo Yan's eyes shook, and he let out a cold laugh. He thought to himself, he only used a small nameless ore, and I used so many energy ores. How could I compare to him? Ha ha! I'm definitely going to win. His mind stabilized, and he began the final act. 5 minutes later. Huff! Guo Yan let out a heavy breath. His eyes flashed with a bright light, and he excitedly said, "Refinement completed. Superior grade, 9 immortal weapon." Guo Yan picked up the immortal weapon longsword that he just refined and gently waved it. Wong wong. The sword hummed. The blade of the sword was glowing. Powerful energy reverberated in the room. Just from the sound of it, one could tell that this immortal weapon was extraordinary. The people of Xianwu Pavilion were excited. Superior grade 9 immortal weapon, Vice Pavilion Master Guo, is amazing. Ha ha, I want to know how that kid chose to die right now. The attribute of this sword is too amazing. That cripple, he's so arrogant. Call again. Weren't you yelling just now? Ha ha, he's probably impotent now. I'm afraid your boss's head will fall on the ground later. What a pity for those two beauties. The people of Xianwu Pavilion were also proud. A high-grade, grade 9 immortal weapon was something that Long Fei would never be able to refine. They had won this challenge. Fury burned in Tandapeo's heart, and he looked at Long Fei. Guo Yan said, "You dog, want to compete with me in artifact forging? Kneel down and accept your death." Ha! He was absolutely confident in the immortal weapon in his hands, so he couldn't help but feel excited and proud. He looked at Long Fei with even more contempt. Yin Kong looked at Long Fei and said, Elder Gui's immortal weapon is indeed high-leveled. No matter if it's quality or rank, it's not bad. It's your immortal weapon. I can't tell, because he seems to be just an ordinary piece of scrap iron. As soon as he finished speaking, the eyes of Tandapeo, Su Su, and Lan Mei tightened. At the same time, the aura on Tandapeo's body moved, and he slowly moved backwards, standing at a place that could crush the entire room, and with a move of his right arm, he instantly entered battle mode. If anything went wrong, he would fire. Ha ha! Scrap. Did you hear that? Refining a piece of scrap iron? Huh. I'm going to die from laughter. I thought it would be gorgeous, but it's just a piece of scrap. Ha ha! A place of trash would produce trash, and the weapons that they refine would also be scrap iron. If they still want to wash away the reputation of the East Imperial City, a place of trash would not be able to do so. The people of Xian Wu Pavilion laughed excitedly. Not only had he won, he had also ruthlessly trampled Long Fei beneath his feet. Guiyan's face was full of pride. Brat, kneel down and kowtow. Give me back the refining fire, and I will spare your life. Seeing that, Su Su and Lan Mei also became cautious. The spirit chi on their bodies surged. They entered into battle state. Long Fei shook his head and laughed, then picked up the short black sword on the furnace that had cooled down and changed the topic. With a flick of his fingers, a drop of blood fell to the ground. What is he doing? Bind it with blood? Does he think that the weapon he forged is a divine weapon? Ha ha ha! You're really going to laugh me to death. Who does he think he is? What's the use of so much gimmick? It's just a piece of scrap iron. Even if you spill all the blood on it, it's still a piece of scrap metal. It can't be changed. Ha ha! Everyone laughed. Only weapons that reached the divine level would be able to use blood essence to activate it. This was also the process of recognizing a master. However, it was impossible for such a thing to happen. Divine level refining techniques. Even a former Grand Court did not have such an ability. Blood essence dripped onto the black sword. Suddenly, beneath the drop of blood was a glowing halo, which immediately spread to the entire blade of the sword. Immediately following that, the black dagger changed into a shining, sparkling sword. There was not a single flaw to be seen on its body. Whether it was the blade, the sword beam, or the faint sword hum in the air, they were all exceptionally shocking. Buzz! Buzz, buzz, buzz! A series of ear-piercing sword hums exploded. Long Fei moved. The black dagger rose into the air and directly landed in front of Yin Kong. Long Fei said lightly, appreciate it a bit more. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The black dagger spun in front of Yin Kong. This was slapping him, Yin Kong's face. It was a slap on the left and right, slapping him until he couldn't find a north at all. Yin Kong's face became extremely ugly. Guiyan's face was also filled with shock. His body was trembling slightly as he muttered, This is impossible, absolutely impossible. The expressions of the elders of the Xian Wu Pavilion all became abnormally ugly. Seeing that Yin Kong and the others did not speak, Long Fei swept his gaze across the entire audience and laughed coldly. Are you still trash? Still laughing? The trash of the East Imperial City? Continue. Are you mute now? Continue the F*King event. His voice was getting louder and louder. The entire Xian Wu Pavilion was crushed by Long Fei, by that black divine great short sword. It was extremely uncomfortable. At this moment, Guiyan frowned. His mind could not take it anymore, and he suddenly threw out the artifact forging room. Long Fei snorted. You want to run? Can you run away? The idea moved. The black dagger was suddenly extraordinary. Carrying a streak of netherworld flame on its blade, it directly pierced through Guiyan's head and his entire body instantly ignited. Ding! The system sounded out. Long Fei didn't even look at him and said coldly, Who else? The crowd exploded. However, right at this moment, a door to the artifact forging room was suddenly pushed open. An elderly voice came out and said, There's still me. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.